Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yes. Muchachines, muchachos, hoy tenemos conversatorio. Hoy hay conversación en vivo. Buena palito, bro. ¿Qué tal? Hoy hay conversación en vivo con un invitado muy singular. Probablemente ustedes no lo conocen. Se llama Cory y es un voluntarista, igual que aquí su humilde servidor. Y nunca hemos conversado, primera vez que vamos a conversar. Vamos a ver qué pasa. El detalle sí es que Cory, que yo sepa, no habla español, así que la conversación va a ser en inglés. Así que todos invitados a unirse, dejen sus tap tap, a ver si llega más gente, a ver si alguien se queda, weón, como es en inglés. Pero, en fin, estamos aquí probando, es un experimento, así que aquí en un ratito más se debería unir nuestro compadre. Así que mientras tanto, espero que se escuche bien. Alguien, por favor, si alguien me puede confirmar que se escucha, se lo agradecería profundamente. Si es que alguien me puede confirmar que se escucha bien, se lo agradecería profundamente. Grande palito. Gracias, bro. Gracias, bro. Mira, ahí parece que Cory Edmund. Tu. Ahí está Cory. ¿Salió la invitación o no salió la invitación? Let me see. Yes. Parece que salió la invitación. Así que muchachos, todos invitados a quedarse. Ojalá que entiendan inglés, aunque sea un poquito. Pero si no, igual, pues. Si no, igual. Qué chistoso. ¿Qué me cuentan, gente? ¿Qué me cuentan mientras hacemos hora? You Windows. Qué jugo. Sí, bueno, entretenido. Vamos a hablar. Pasa que no sé si alguno de ustedes ha escuchado hablar de Mark Passio, pero Cory también conoce a Mark Passio y así que probablemente va a salir el tema. Buena, Juan. ¿Qué pasa, Juan? Saludos a Colombia. I need una cervezation. Me too, bro. Oh, qué ganas. No me tomo una cerveza hace como un mes, viejo. Hace como un mes que no tiro una cana al aire tomándome una cerveza, compadre. He estado aplicado en otras cosas, weón. Lidiando con situaciones personales, leyendo muchísimo. Leyendo muchísimo. Me acuerdo que cuando estaba en el colegio me hicieron leer La Odisea. Y ahora me estoy leyendo La Odisea por gusto. Cuando me la leí en el colegio le tenía pánico. Me intimidaba el libro. Y ahora me doy cuenta que es un libro súper bien escrito, muy bonito, muy entretenido, muy bello. One Tablet Mutation. Te envié una sorpresa a tu correo. Ah, mira. Vamos a ver qué es, pues, bro. Ya la vamos a revisar. Ya la vamos a revisar. Ya la vamos a revisar. Qué bien, bro, se agradece. Sea lo que sea. Bueno, hoy día conversación en inglés, viejo. Hoy día se viene. Conversación en inglés con otro voluntarista, otro creador de contenido. Si todo sale bien, digamos, porque él es nuevo en TikTok y tiene, no sé, como 400, 600 seguidores. No sé si puede hacer el live siquiera, no estamos seguros, pero vamos a hacer el intento. Así que aquí estamos haciendo ahora mientras se nos, mientras se nos suma Cory. Cory. Así que mientras tanto, ¿qué me cuentan, pues, muchachos? ¿Qué me cuentan? ¿Cómo están sus vidas? ¿Cómo están sus mentes? ¿Cómo están sus corazones? ¿Cómo están sus vidas? ¿Cómo están sus mentes? ¿Cómo están sus corazones? Mm, Martín. Buena, Martín. Buena onda. ¿Qué tal? Saludos, Argentina. Aquí estamos de Santiago de Chile, empezando un live, empezando un live que es un experimento. Empezando un live que es un experimento. Es el primer live que organizo con otra persona. Me dijo que estaba un poco atrasado, así que vamos a esperar a ver si se logra sumar. Y lo curioso es que la conversación va a tener que ser en inglés. Pero la gracia es que el invitado es otro creador de contenido que también habla más o menos las mismas cosas que digo yo. ¿Qué pensás? Ganó mi ley de nuevo. ¿Qué reflexión tenés? ¿Qué reflexión tengo acerca de mi ley? Bueno, yo creo que lo más rescatable es que este tipo de situaciones pone a la gente a pensar y te das cuenta que ningún presidente puede arreglar el mundo, por decirlo así. Milei puede hacer cosas muy buenas en lo económico, por ejemplo. Milei puede que haga cosas muy buenas en lo económico, pero es un aliado de Israel y a mí me parece que básicamente la pelea que existe por el territorio palestino desde 1948 ha sido solo un poquito, digamos, desbalanceada entre las contrapartes. Me parece que Israel está haciendo un tremendo espectáculo de la tortura lenta de los palestinos, porque si Israel quisiera eliminar a Palestina, ya la habría eliminado, la podría haber eliminado muy rápido. Pero no lo hace, prefiere que todo el mundo los odie, prefiere mostrar el sufrimiento a todo el mundo para que los odiemos, porque yo creo que lo que en el fondo quieren generar es la Tercera Guerra Mundial. Entonces, lo de Milei me parece que, como todo, tiene cosas positivas, cosas negativas. Lo que yo invito es a darse cuenta de que ningún presidente nos va a arreglar la vida, insisto, y por lo tanto necesitamos tomar los asuntos en nuestras propias manos, educarnos moralmente y educar. Porque la única solución, ¿sí o no, Martín? Yo creo, porque necesitamos educarnos y educar, porque la única manera de realmente evolucionar, digamos, y progresar es con la conciencia. La tecnología no nos va a salvar aquí. Nuestro cuerpo es la tecnología más avanzada que hay. Nuestro cuerpo humano es producto de billones de años de evolución junto al planeta. Nuestro cuerpo humano es producto de billones de años de evolución junto al planeta. El impulso transhumanista es un impulso materialista, invertido, enfermo, básicamente. La gente que cree que con la tecnología nos vamos a salvar está totalmente equivocada. La gente que se va de la ciudad y cree que yéndose a vivir al campo y aislándose o generando comunidades sostenibles, verdes, lo que tú queráis, se va a salvar, también te equivocada. La gente que cree que va a haber una solución política está equivocada. La gente que cree que va a haber una solución religiosa está equivocada. La única solución que nos queda, gente, es aprender en la conciencia, de verdad elevarnos en la conciencia. Eso es lo único que nos queda. Y ese es un trabajo que estamos todos llamados a hacer. Absolutamente todos. Todos somos sumamente importantes e indispensables en hacer este trabajo de educarse moralmente y educar. Porque es básicamente lo único que nos puede traer libertad, gente. Es lo único que nos puede traer libertad. Así que bueno, esa es mi reflexión, Apito, de mi ley. De nada, amigo. Un abrazo, un abrazo. CH, amigo, gracias por tus videos. Oh, un placer. CH, me alegro que disfrutes. Ojalá que aprendas. Ojalá que te sirvan para aprender algo y que te motiven también a hacer tú lo mismo. O sea, eh, yo creo que el tiempo de tener gurús ya fue. ¿Puedo contarte algo? Estoy muy endeudado, batallando en la pega, cansado, estoy en un mal momento. Uf, viejo, aguante. No te sientas solo, no creas que estás solo, compadre. Está todo el mundo en un muy mal momento. Algunos más conscientes que otros, pero estamos básicamente todos pasando por un momento muy crítico, muy difícil. Así que lo que yo te recomendaría, honestamente, lo que yo te recomendaría honestamente es que sí, todo el mundo está endeudado, exacto, así que no estás solo. Primero que nada, no desesperes. Primero que nada, no desesperes, porque no estás solo, casi todo el mundo está igual, todos se aguantan, ponen cara de valiente, ponen cara de que no les dolió y se soban para callados, pero están todos para la embarrada, todos para la embarrada, todos para la embarrada. Gente que parece que tiene un estilo de vida más alto, olvídate, olvídate, están todos igual peleando por las lucas, porque mantener un estilo de vida más alto simplemente te hace más esclavo. Mantener un estilo de vida más alto simplemente te hace más esclavo. Más cosas que hay que cuidar y qué sé yo. Entonces, lo que yo te recomiendo, hermano, es conectarte con tu interior y siempre buscar la calma dentro de ti y después actuar. Buscar siempre la calma, buscar el centro. Como dice en la Biblia, no es por ponerme religioso, no soy religioso, pero como dice en la Biblia, busca primero el reino de los cielos y el resto será por añadidura. Bueno, gente, nuestro invitado está aquí. What's up, dude?
Yo, oh, gotta turn my camera here.
Take your
Yo,
time.
what up?
Really nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you, man. Hey, I'm gonna put on my tripod here so I look a little bit better. How about that?
Of course, get as comfortable as you want. I'm here in my bed.
Dude, I'm glad to connect with you. It's awesome. I'm glad to do this TikTok thing too. Good thing that was easy. It was just 2 buttons. Thank goodness.
Yeah, yeah, no complications. See, yeah,
Heck yeah.
this is actually it can become kind of addictive. So
Oh boy.
it's pretty
Oh, there we go.
fun, dude.
Whoa. What up? Now we're on the
Perfect, bro.
tripod. Let's go.
Perfect. Bro, I am so excited to finally talk to you because at least here in Chile, where I am, Chile, you know, it means the end of the world, literally.
Really? In what
Yep,
language? Or is it just that's
it's in the language of the original tribes. the
Okay.
Mapuches.
Hmm.
Chile means the end of the world. So, in the end of the world, where I am, there's not many people who are actively, vocally against government.
Hmm.
Of course, there are some, but it's always like maybe just a little bit of government, you know?
Sure.
And I don't hear many people talking about objective morality. I
Hmm.
don't hear many people talking about
Whoops.
anarchy or voluntarism. So for me, it's really a pleasure to get to talk to you,
Hmm.
someone whose content I've seen. I agree with you. I've learned from your content, and I just glad we get to do this, man.
Yeah, no, I get you. There's a lot of people starting to wake up to what's going on in the world in various ways. And when I say wake up, to some various people, it's going to be different stages because we're all at different points in our life on a personal level and systemically. There's things that people are working on and they don't want to look at the systems, but the systems often influence their own personal lives. And these are all intersected, right? We
Of
got to change
course.
ourselves to change the world, change the systems to change us. It's all a massive kind of cluster, that is going
Totally.
after people, and it's hard. It's a lot to go after. I mean, it's a lot to address. I do it in 1 minute videos, 2 minute videos, but truthfully, looking at an individual level, there's a lot that goes on. There's systemic, like traumatic, generational problems that happen, and shadow work that we have to do that we don't see that has to be addressed. So that's actually a meeting I just came from. Actually, was an amazing interview that I just conducted with my Health Revealed team, talking about systemic like shadow work. There's so many things happening in the world, and there's certain people that are really tapped into what's going on, who've been reading all the Carl Jung books, all the psychology books, and even still, they're like, there's still so much there that we're just starting to realize now. Like Carl Jung and the shadow concept is new. This is not even 100 years old. We've only just realized, wait, we have this collective unconscious that may still be with us. There is so much that we're still figuring out. And so I believe that we are heading in a trajectory where it is possible for people to be truly free, but that requires some sense of discipline, open-mindedness, right? All the mechanisms from which we already created change. Like I give the example in my videos, chattel slavery and ending that in America, and then the monarchy, ending that. There's like progression on a moral enlightenment perspective of where we're trying to go. And then there's forces of course trying to push us down, and those forces are self-inflicted for the most part. And we want to point the fingers and say, these people are bad, we got to change the politician. And I'm like, well, wait a second. What about you? You give them power, you give them money. You may not want to blame yourself, but how much are you personally responsible? And so I'm constantly questioning myself and critiquing my own work, and like, how could I do better? What is it that I can do for the community? And that's, I believe, how I'm going to show by example. A lot of the work I've been doing outside of the TikToks is actually getting together with people and building community gardens. So this is not something
Great.
I've been sharing on my account right now. I intend to share later on, but every single day, every single week, I get people together. We're planting stuff together. I bring speakers. We bring food. We
Man,
do potlucks. And this is in America, where
awesome.
this is not a common thing. In certain countries, this is a common thing, and there's food forest all around the streets, and there is food security. But here in America, I mean, the average food to table is thousands of miles away. They got people controlled by their very food supply. Not just their mind, but their basic necessities. So once you start challenging one thing that is really basic and really essential, then everything else starts to open up. And I noticed that talking to farmers and talking to veterans, talking to people who've been in and out of the jail system, the people who feel it the most and really experience it. And then there's people who, like myself, have not gone through those systems and sort of just ask questions and observe and is like, huh, why is the system not helping people? How come this person is ending up in jail again? How come this veteran is having this trauma? Like, I'm trying to just ask questions here, and I just want people to do the same thing. That's it, frankly.
Amazing. Amazing, bro. Of course, my followers are mostly Spanish speakers, so I'm probably not many people is gonna write from my side, but
Okay.
we have to do this anyway, man.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have
Am
to
I
try.
live on my end? Is there a
So
way I can
fun.
tell?
Yes, of course you are.
Okay.
The moment you are live, it's signaled to your followers.
Okay.
So your followers should be notified. I something that makes me so curious is why some people seem to be able to wake up, face the truth, uncomfortable truth, um, start to see the lies, and are able to question things like, do we need government? What the fuck is going on Earth? and
Right.
and and others don't. So I, if you could tell me a little bit about your story, so maybe I can get to know you, the people can get to know you, and maybe we can find some. Whoa,
It wanted me to go live and I hit a button and then I guess it
no
took me
worries.
away.
But no worries. As I was saying, if you could tell a little bit about your story, since you were a child, maybe a little bit about your family, your beginnings, and let's go from there. See if we can find something, maybe a certain circumstance. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a question I sometimes get, and I don't go into always my personal stories because it's like I'm always trying to think of, how could I help someone else and what questions could we ask together? And I sort of make it like, okay, we're on this journey together type of thing. But a lot of people are always wondering about my story, and it started when I was 13. I was researching ingredients in the grocery store, and I just looked at all the different foods and I was like, man, why are there all these chemicals? Why are there like cancer causing stuff? Why are there food colorings, all these dyes? Now people are starting to pick up on that. Now that's a conversation around the country, but I've been asking that question for a while, and there's been many people who have been saying like, how these red food dyes are bad. It's now the government is like, oh, we're going to ban them. It's like they're going to take 5 years just to do that one chemical, and then there's like a billion others, and they can just invent new ones. But anyways, that was where I started, and that got me into nutrition. That got me into health, and that's where my foundation is. And then over time, I became a health coach and started taking clients, going over mainly obesity, diabetes, the main things affecting America. And there's insurance companies getting in the way. I'm already noticing doctors can't treat their patients the way that they want to. They're controlled. And I'm just like running into these roadblocks, and I'm asking questions. And I've always been a truth seeker. So I'm not just going to stop at health and nutrition. I'm going to question, what about these other systems? How do they affect people's health? So I realized it extends beyond the body. It goes to the mind. And the way they control people's minds is the way they're going to control people's bodies, ultimately,
Yep,
mental slavery to physical slavery.
of
And there's other
course.
ways to put that as well. But I realized if there's so many people who are sick and they're all suffering from the same problems, why is that? And what is the actual root cause? And frankly, I think it's a psycho-spiritual war in a sense. If you delve into psychology in the shadow, you realize maybe a lot of diseases are not actually physical or these ailments that are chemical and merely just deficiencies, but actually some sort of trauma or some sort of fear, or maybe that's actually causing some food cravings. There's like always a lot of different avenues to go down. And when I would talk to people about their health, it would be about their relationships, exercise, spirituality, career, which is all things that are not what they eat. So clearly there was much more to address. And if you're exposed to the news and to the media often, you have to ask yourself, how much fear are you being exposed to, right? If you're exposed to the politicians and the USDA and they tell you what is healthy, how responsible over your own body and your own health are you, right? So when you take personal responsibility of your own health and you do understand what you're eating, how much healthier will you be? And so that is what I encourage, is a freedom, not just of the body, but of the mind. Because if you're going to be truly healthy, you have to free or heal your mind. And of course, again, this is another interaction, right? What you give to your body is going to feed to your mind and vice versa. Like the information you consume is another form of consumption. Are you exposed to information like this, or are you exposed to the media, which is designed to give you a certain agenda? Because they also have all their sponsors by pharma companies, and they're not going to criticize their sponsors.
Oh no, it's a big business.
Right.
It's a big.
So this is mainstream, and I think people are coming to realize it, because the healthcare industry, this is something that affects people personally on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
But then the more you start scaling it back, it's like I start talking about democide, one of the top causes of unnatural death, and that's a pretty big deal, and that stands for death by government. So everybody in the health industry is focused on, we got to fix the diet, fix this and fix that. Meanwhile, you have this massive generational trauma and abdicating one's responsibility and their own self-ownership. And what's happening is more death than heart disease and all these other things can ever cause. And it's happening from people doing what they know to be wrong and doing it anyways. So I mean, that's crazy, because a doctor could do the same thing to you. They can say, oh, I'm going to give you this drug and I'm going to get some money off of that. And, it's for the greater good. I need my family to survive. And just like, in Nazi Germany, had a bunch of physicians who were thinking about different ways to manipulate people. And it's not that they wanted to, it's that they kind of fell under the spell of being an order follower. Oh, the insurance company told me this. Drug company told me, my advisor told me, and the nurses and the doctors are constantly working on like high stress schedules, always busy. They're kept in this fight or flight mode themselves. How could they be healthy? Yep. They're the ones supposed to be treating other people to be healthy, and meanwhile, they're not even healthy themselves. So of course you have a broken system, right? So, and then they're treating their patients, sometimes projecting their problems to them, and again, it's just one big mess, and it's hard to navigate. So I'm actually working on a massive documentary that I'll be releasing in next week or so, which breaks it all down through the lens of a certain type of psychology that can really help people understand something that should have been taught to them in their youth. And it's on a topic I've never addressed before on my channel. And if you go to my YouTube channel, I have hundreds of videos on different subjects. My TikTok is meant to be, short content to kind of make things easier to digest and taking from that large information. But when you need to get like the full picture of what's going on in the world, that's what this documentary is for, what I intend for it to be, more so as a tool for your own mind, so you can recognize and become aware of how to discipline your own mind. Because I can give you all sorts of information. And today it might be true, but tomorrow it's going to change, and they can change anything. They can turn whatever I say that's bad into what is good, and what is good into bad. That's what they're masters of, the people that control this world, which is why they keep their control. It's all done through that type of trickery. And when I say they, again, I'm meaning ourselves too, because we trick ourselves. So that's where I'm saying you need to discipline and master your own mind. Because once you do that, then nothing can control you. And that's where I want to get people. And I can't do it, right? I can't do it for them. I could only bring them to a certain point to which one has to then have some sort of self-reflection method of their own. And there's different religions and philosophies that do that. And I can't say I have the one way that everyone should follow and I know how the world should work. Like, no, right? I'm trying to see all these different perspectives and realize what are the patterns between them and where do people go wrong. It's usually when they think they're doing right.
Absolutely.
So that's,
Absolutely,
one of the things.
Bro. Yeah, amazing. I think it's great that you started at 13, you know. I mean, your
Hmm.
family must have been exceptional if you were like questioning what are
Hmm.
we eating? You know, it's so basic, so simple, so powerful and fundamental. And
Yeah.
I don't know, in this you are in the United States, right?
Yes, I am. Florida.
How the population is like 300 million?
Yeah, I think so. Around there, about
310?
so. I mean, that's what we're told. I don't know if that's true.
In Chile, we have only like 17 million people, and it's a disaster. Health is a disaster. Most people are obese. Most people, it in this country, we are people are very good. They like bread. They eat bread every day, uh, more than once, and it's really destroying people. And I got to see this because I was actually a med student when the pandemic BS hit, and I simply could not take it. I got out, I dropped out, and started then questioning. So my waking up has been pretty much later down the road, you know, and
Sure.
I'm actually 39, and I'd say only but 34 I started awakening. Like really, I had some experiences before, but never nothing that shook me to the core and make me like, boom, really question and stand firm on my 2 feet and develop like a real sense of I separate from the group think,
Right, right.
you know? And actually, this is something I wanted to talk to you about because when I was searching everywhere on the internet for people who knew what was going on, I then found uh, Mark Pasio's work. And I don't know if it was for you as it was for me, but it really changed my freaking life for the better because I could actually I got sick. I'm actually kind of disabled actually because I was having I was in a relationship with a girl during the pandemic. She got vaccinated, didn't tell me, and I kept having relations with her, and then I got sick. I developed autoimmune issues that I'm still trying to deal with them. And if it wasn't for Mark Pasio's work, bro, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I'd be 6 feet under because life got really hard, really fast,
Yeah.
and the the change in my worldview through natural law, understanding objective morality, something clicked in me, bro.
Yeah.
Something was like, "Poof, this is it." And of course,
Yeah.
it's not like life is solved once you understand it. Of course not.
Right,
It's
right.
like before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You know,
Yeah.
but it was really like enlightening for me. It was amazing, and I think I'm not sure, but I think I already followed you when I heard you talk with him in the podcast. Maybe it was episode 107,
Sure.
117. I can't remember because I actually took notes from every episode and I'm listening again.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it was really transformative. And all that I've done in here is try to explain some basic concepts that I actually got from the podcast. And my first videos were like I just wrote something in my cell phone and I read it out loud.
Hmm.
You see, and
Yeah.
that's how I started. Then I integrated it more. I got like a real hang of the information, and now I just grab the phone, put record, and talk whatever I feel like I want to talk about when I feel like something important must be said, you know. But
Right. Right.
um, I just wondering, you know, what is your opinion on Mark Pasio's work? Is there are there what are some things you agree on, some things you don't agree on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think so. First of all, Mark has been monumental for me too, and a lot of people. And one of the most common responses he gets for his work is, "You've confirmed what I've been trying to figure out and couldn't put into words," or maybe I knew what was going on, but I just couldn't put it together. And that's what Mark gets as a response a lot for his work. And I'm very familiar with a lot of his concepts. Like, I know natural law seminar stuff pretty much by heart, right?
Nice.
I taught that for several years on my channel when I was first starting out. After my health content, it's not that he inspired me to do the content, because I know he was telling everybody, like, you got to start a podcast, you got to do something to share the message. I was doing my own health stuff first, and then I started shifting more to that as I really liked the way he worded it and liked the way he put it together. I think the way that he delivers it is he puts it in a methodology, a nice structure, so people can understand the concepts of freedom and ownership and rights. And I think that's why it appeals to so many people, because for so long we're kind of just left in not knowing, like, these very basic things. We aren't taught that in school. And so it makes us feel very powerless, I think, in a sense, not having that knowledge, which is so essential, which is like, yeah, it's bad to harm someone. And we know that, but we never formalized it. We never were like, okay, we know there's these natural rights, natural law. It says it in America especially, but no one actually defines it. No one actually breaks it down or looks at the contradictions, like statism. Never heard of it until I came across Mark Pasio's work, Larkin Rose. I would liken my own approach over time, as I have, let's say, refined and used the concepts through many years and talked with many people, to Larkin Rose's approach more particularly. And the reason why is because Larkin Rose isn't teaching natural law or objective morality, yet he is. And
Yeah.
what I mean by
He
that is
like
he's
makes
not
you think.
saying, yeah, he's not saying these are like the specific definitions that you must follow, this is the structure and this is the only way. But he is asking questions through Socratic dialogue to get people to understand for themselves why their actions are wrong. Now, of course, they both lead to a very similar conclusion, but there is a problem of fanaticism that can take place in Mark Pasio's community that doesn't take place in Larkin Rose's, which makes his message more appealing to some people, but also less appealing to some people. So, like, there's people who say Mark is too angry, and I think, this is that. It's like, everybody's got their own approach. Everybody's got their own
Yeah.
perspective. And I think it's valuable that people learn from Mark, but they don't say this is the only way. And just as much as they say, well, this is not worth it at all. Like, we should be able to discern and learn from everybody in our life, and then find out for ourselves what is the truth. And yeah, the truth is not something that, although we want to say it's objective and always been here, that's the definition he uses, it is also ironically evolving, because we have to further our understanding with time, which he also admits to. So there's little contradictions like that in his work, which he would probably be self-aware of, but just takes a bigger perspective to look at. So, like, what I said is that truth he defines as what has always, like, been there, basically, what history was and what is. But
Yeah.
technically our understanding of that is not whole, and it never is entirely whole, because we're always continually learning. So in another slide he says, natural law is dependent on knowledge and understanding with time, whereas man's law is based on moral relativism, or the idea that it can just be made up and that it doesn't apply through all times. There is a value in the subjective. There's a value in the individuality and the uniqueness of people having different opinions. And statism is independent of objective morality and natural law. Like, you can understand statism and see it as a threat without saying that there is an objective morality and without saying moral relativism is an evil. And so I think people should investigate that perspective. And another perspective would be from the Taoist point of view. So I talk about Taoism from the ancient Chinese. In their worldview, there isn't really a right or a wrong. In most Eastern philosophies, right and wrong, and this is why some Christians don't like it, it doesn't seem like a very clear binary, like, oh, here is a list of commandments, and this is what you don't do, this is what you do. But there is ethics, and there is virtues, is what they call it, in Taoist philosophy. It's just viewed very differently from how we look at things very scientifically and mechanistically in the West, per se. So we want to be very rational, very objective, and then there's also this very naturalistic, empathetic, and more fluid nature to our reality. So we want to try to put things in a box, make it neat, which makes it easier to understand, like saying, here's natural law and here's what the occult is saying. But at the same time, our reality is so complex that when you try to box it and you try to formalize it, you will eventually run into some roadblocks, and you will see that you cannot do that. Truth wants to be expanded. It wants to be seen. And this is actually in the favor of freedom, not against it. Because freedom is that expansiveness that is consciousness as well, which is love, right? He has that as the first expression on the positive expression chart. So that's just one example, I think. But there's other things, he goes over the million reptilian brain and says that there's a difference between humans and animals. And then he has a lot of views about veganism that some people have a hard time with, right? Where it's like, you got to go vegan if you believe in natural law because human rights are animal rights. And a lot of people who study objectivism, a lot of people who have taught natural law in the past have not promoted that vegan point of view. Even like Murray Rothbard in the 1980s didn't really promote that point of view. So there's these conflicts that will come up, and it just delves into moral philosophy where people will be debating about semantics all day. But at the end of the day, it's like, you own you and I own me, right? You can debate about all the little logistics of philosophy, which people will always do. And I think that's amazing because it sharpens the mind. But see, it's not actually trying to reach the conclusion. And this is me coming from an Eastern perspective too. It's not trying to reach the conclusion to find this is the truth, but rather your very search of that truth that helps you find it. So when you are struggling and you're in man, I can't figure it out, that's like the greatest opportunity to figure it out. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that irony where it's like, okay, if you think there's a problem with this work, that's a good thing in my eyes, because it's like, then you can be able to deliver a different perspective. And usually this is why it's hard to make videos, short content, because I see always nuance and different sides to every argument I'm making. And so when people write a comment, I'm like, that's awesome, good comment. Because it's like, at the end of the day, I have to acknowledge, this person's coming from a certain point of view where if I grew up in their circumstance, I'd probably believe exactly what they believe. And I think in our world, it's hard to really put ourselves in other people's shoes, but that's the golden rule, and that's natural law, right? It's being able to see from this bigger perspective. So that's another thing, right? It's like natural law is right and wrong, but it's also the golden rule and law of attraction and consequentialism and this and that. It's like, okay, well, it's all these things, right? So the golden rule doesn't have a definition of right and wrong. It's just like a rule of reciprocity. So to put those two things together, it's a little bit also challenging, I would say, because there's been many people who have promoted the golden rule that don't say a right is an action that doesn't cause harm. Now, they may agree with that, but they don't say that's what specifically a right is. Because what about self-harm? And what if you're pregnant, let's say, and, in the case of the veganism thing, you can't breastfeed your kid and you need to use, raw milk or cow's milk or something else. And, what if you live in the Arctic and you in other places where it's less available? And there's so many nuances that can happen,
Mm.
but the general rule is like, yeah, that doesn't mean that we excuse wrong behavior. It doesn't mean that we harm other people. It doesn't mean that we don't own ourselves, right?
Yeah, there's like infinite complexity. So we always keeping our mind open and the humility to recognize maybe, oh shit, maybe you're right. I'll take another look at that. That's like the basic attitude you must keep like for life, in my view.
Right.
Always learning, always doubting and questioning, and if you can, be happy while you are at it.
Yeah.
What's your take on the Human Origins by Mark Passio?
Oh, like the civilization where he talks about like Sumeria and how like they merged human beings with DNA and all that,
Yeah,
or
Anunnaki
right,
story,
right, right.
and we were created by aliens and all that. What's your take on that? Because let me tell you what I think.
Sure, sure, sure.
What happened to me. Because when I got to that point, it's like half the podcast, like episode, I don't know, 150 maybe. I don't remember really well. But when I got to that point, it freaking destroyed my worldview. It actually made me kind of depressed for like a couple of weeks. It took me some time to digest the idea because it made too much sense, really. It made too much sense. So I kind of got in the attitude of, okay, maybe
Yeah.
this is right, maybe it's not. It would be nice to know, but I'll keep searching. And only recently, I watched some content by, I don't know if you know her, Gigi Young. Do you
No, I
know
don't.
her?
I don't know her.
She talks about spirituality from an esoteric, classic esoteric point of view, integrating Christian esoterica with anthroposophy, and a little bit of theosophy. It's like a whole bunch of
Nice.
stuff, but her view on the creation of the earth and of the human, I think is much more empowering and liberating than the view like we were made by aliens, and everything divine with us has to do with them. We are like children and they are like daddy, sky daddy. And we are fucked if they don't give us their technology, if they don't give us their government, their money, their religions, etc. And the view from Gigi Young that I got, because when I was in med school, I got a little bit in anthroposophy, so it wasn't so hard to dig
Sure.
her work. And in that view, human beings are like the most basic form in a angelical hierarchy. So we are divinely made, but since the beginning, we've been evolving with planet Earth. And the planet goes through different phases. It's not always so solid as we are used to now. There have been, according to this work, some epochs where everything is more malleable, everything is like more on etheric or on the astral plane,
Yeah.
and that really, this has been like another slap on my face, to start seeing things differently. And I don't know what you think, but I think that it's very, very important to get some things right. And if you don't get them right, you better admit I don't know, but don't go with the wrong idea because it will screw your mind
Right,
up,
right.
man. What's your take on that?
Well, for sure. I mean, what you just started with too, with that whole thing, was humility. And, what I emphasized was asking questions, not just to others, but to ourselves. That's how we could always check in on ourselves, like, is this actually right? Because again, as you know, people think they're doing right when they're doing wrong. So I always want to open up the possibility that, yeah, you might be doing something wrong, right? Because even when you're thinking, oh, I'm following natural law like to a T, it's like, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, AI is going to open up a whole new dimension of what is real and what is not. And you might be tricked into doing something, and everybody might think you've done something when you didn't. So I'm just putting it out there. There's potentialities that we cannot even conceive of that do exist that will violate almost everything we think we know, because we as humans have this ego that loves to attach to concepts and loves to think that we're right and loves to try to structure reality. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, again, that there is that discipline and there's that constant reminder is to say, like, you don't know it all and you can't figure it out at all. Doesn't mean you become a nihilist and say there's nothing, right? So again, it's a balance, just like with the left brain or right brain, masculine and feminine. You can't turn too much into either extreme where you're going to act impulsively or act so intuitively that you're going to ignore your instincts or ignore the knowledge. So that's from that point of view. But regarding the origins and history of mankind, that's a tough one. And I think one thing I want to look at in regards to that question is giants, Bigfoot, and those phenomena, the hidden animals, the hidden artifacts, archaeology, because these are things that we can start to look at. As it is, we can't even find a normal animal, let alone if we were to conceive of the idea of Bigfoot. And then for archaeology, it's hard because they've basically made a lot of the sites like tourist attractions, and they've prevented excavations of certain areas. And this is all public. You can look up, like, Bright Insight is a good channel for stuff on archaeology where he's challenging the mainstream narrative on that, and he's just like a YouTuber who's constantly asking questions about it. But there's a bunch of people who are.
What's the name? Bright?
Yeah, Bright Insight.
Insight. Ah, okay.
Yeah. And I like his work, and I appreciate it. And he also came from like a military background where he saw the problems with war too. And a lot of his old videos, I remember them, but he got rid of them because now it's all like archaeology. But I remember he used to read over the Tao Te Ching and go into a bunch of different subjects. So he's definitely a truther. And eventually he said he would share his stories about the problems with war. And a lot of veterans, like I've even confronted them on the street, and they have a hard time talking about it. Some of them, like, straight up will tear to me just by asking them the question, like, would you suppress your conscience or do what you're told? And they're like, I know I did what I was told. I know I did wrong. And it's to come to that admittance is difficult. To know you've gone overseas and hurt people. I mean, it's a pretty crazy thing.
Soul crushing, bro.
Right. So, but this has been happening for many, many years. Now, how long, I don't know. And how advanced we were in the past, how intellectual were we in the past, I think there's a lot of variance, because it seems like we're very good at being able to shift our reality, not just our perception. And so it is very possible, in my eyes, that you can dumb down a population, or you can make them extremely enlightened, or you could do all sorts of things to their DNA. And this, I think this can happen in any generation. If you know the right tools and you know the right ways to go about the mind. I think they could have done it 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago without technology using certain methods. Absolutely. It's just technology is amplifying what already exists out there. It's amplifying our message right now. Totally. But it's like everything that has been here on this earth has always been here. Like, we're just taking these things, we're turning them into new things. it's a fascinating idea because I was always an inventor growing up, so I like to take ideas, bring them together, make new things, but really it's ingenuity. It's not creating something, it's taking things that have already existed and making into something else. So that means this technology and what we have, there's intelligence much grander than that. And I call it natural intelligence. Some people may even call it God. If you think about what AI has the potential to be or what government claims to have, it almost seems as though these forces act as gods in people's lives. You know, people worship them, people use them all the time, they look up to them for every tip of advice. So when you're talking about the origins, I think, you know, obviously going into God would be a natural conversation for the origins of mankind, because it's like the origins of our psyche, the origins of who we think we are, and all those questions, right? So I think those answers, like I always say, nature is the answer. I would claim that the answers are pretty present, and so, and again, coming from an Eastern perspective, I emphasize presence. Because past and future tend to cause a lot of division and conflict and uncertainty, and tends to bring us out of what we need to do and what we need to look at. So I would argue that it's got less relevance perhaps than what's now, because what's now is reflected from the past, right? Like what's now is the result of the past, and what's now is going to create the future. So not to deflect the question in the sense, but to recognize the more important thing, which is the ever-present, right? So what has always existed through all the past and what still exists now. That's what natural law, you know, is defined as well. And it is what we call truth, right? It's like with this thing that is here, but we're still figuring it out. So it's our subjective being that's trying to understand this objective thing that's always been there. And that's the struggle, is like, you know, we don't always live forever. We don't have all this knowledge at our fingertips, but technology is changing that. And so it's almost as though we're attempting to merge with the God that we've always known, or maybe resurfacing a part of ourselves that we once were in our past. In the case of the Sumerian and Anunnaki, if we were some space people, we might be trying to revisit that, and it's coming back through the years of development and evolution. Just an idea.
Yeah, no, very interesting. You know, Gigi Young actually talks about this. She even talks about transhumanism, Nazism. It's really interesting. Maybe you want to check it out, but I don't know. You seem like a pretty busy man, bro. Like you're making your documentary. You've been coaching on health for various
Yeah.
years. Uh, your life sounds pretty fun. Your mind works really fast. You're pretty eloquent, bro. I like your style, man. You know, I think I'm like I like it simple and I'm direct in my videos, because you know, in my country we are about to go on presidential elections,
Oh boy.
and one yeah, disgusting shit. And one of the one of the candidates is a communist candidate, bro. She's
Man.
like from the communist party. It's like absolutely
Right.
primitive in my view,
Right. It's like, gosh, how far
brutally
back are we on progress?
third
Jeez.
worldly, third worldly, disgustingly third worldly, and so ignorant. And so I go hard on communism and socialism. I like, but simple, and but your
Right.
style is like much more. Hey, you know, I've been thinking about this, and maybe you want to watch it. Like, congratulations, bro. You have like so much more patience and. Like maybe even more charisma than me, bro. So I really like that.
Well, thank you. I mean, you know, there's always things that happen in our world that will prompt us to want to, you know, be more angry at other times and be more like, hey, you know, I wanted to share this with you. And my
Uh,
content, I always like to experiment and do different things. But
nice.
but yeah.
Well, you know, I when I got to the end of Mark Pasio's podcast and he was like angry, ranting, like almost non-stop, it it kind of I liked it actually.
Right.
Some
Yeah, me.
people freaking hate
It
it.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't bother me either. But
For me, it was like confirmation that I didn't even need a confirmation, but it was like confirmation that he's not a freaking control op or whatever people wanna say about him.
again, it's
It
on them. It's on them either way. So
yeah,
even if he was, what does it matter? You're the filter of your own perception, right? So it's like
that's true.
at the end of the day, nobody should be depending on him for knowledge, even if it was true,
Yep,
because he wants you to be empowered. He's not asking for followers. So that's the
yeah,
thing, right? It's like people make these people who have like the great ideas. It's like you got to follow their every idea. You got to worship them, and then it's like that's literally counterthetical to their teachings.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like literally Jesus is like, "Do not follow me," and it's like everyone follows him. It's like, what's going on? It's
yeah,
it's just been this pattern of history because people are this tribal type of animal, and there's people trying to get them past that point, and people are stubborn. They have egos, and again, they attach. So this is why the Buddhists are like, don't attach. Try to meditate, get out into nature. And so there's a lot of methods to get there, but the controllers know that the more people are attached, the more it's easy to know what box they're in. So they're more easy to figure out. So they're more easy to control. So if everybody adopted natural law tomorrow, that wouldn't actually be a good thing because then, not by action, I'm saying by terminology, by like the dictation. If everybody did that, it would make it easier for the controllers to psyop that movement and say, oh, look, they're all following this one thing, they're all following this certain ideology, and they're going to know the weak points, at least if they're a master psychologist like Mark Passio claims, like a social scientist engineer, which I'm sure there are some that exist out there. Like I said, Nazi Germany had a bunch of them. We only found out after the fact. There's probably a bunch of propaganda ministers now here in America, and the CIA is obviously very shady with all sorts of things, that mind control experiments they did in the 60s without telling people, the Japanese internment camps they didn't tell people. There's plenty of things they don't tell people that they're already doing, right? So it's not a surprise if they're collecting data using AI, using technology, and then they're putting people in these boxes like they already do in the Wikipedia. You're associated with this, oh, you're a pseudo this. You're associated with that, you're this, right? It's easy to
yeah,
put them in those boxes so that way not only do some people perceive them as a threat, but they can also better intervene and co-op or psyop a certain movement or certain idea. So you do want variance, but action-wise, yeah, we want people following natural law, right? We want people acting morally and doing the right thing. But people have to have that understanding of the knowledge and then evolve past it and form their own better, more holistic understandings of that knowledge applied to themselves and their own environment. Because everybody is slightly different and language is also different. Cultures are a little bit different. It doesn't mean
yeah,
that the foundational knowledge isn't true. It just means that it has to be applied not exactly the same way. Follow Mark Passio. He's the best
yeah.
person to say it, and say it the way he says it. It's like, no, there's been
Not
many others
everybody's gonna
throughout
do it.
history who have said exactly what he said and using totally different words. And I
Yeah,
try to giving some of those examples in my videos. It's like, look at all these moral teachings shared generation to generation. Like I give the example from C.S. Lewis in his book, The Abolition of Man. So what? He's a Christian. I don't care. The teachings, I look at the teachings. It's like, so what? Mark Passio yells. He gets angry. I don't care. I look at the teachings. I look at the
yep,
information, right? Like,
yep,
you can have some personal things going on too, but it's like, at the end of the day, it comes down to personal responsibility, what you filter your own perception, and don't blame others just because something doesn't seem right. It's like, I don't want to look at this information because he's angry. That's really actually a projection on part of themselves, saying
yeah.
that they don't have the ability to discern, or they don't have the ability to
It's
receive that information in a
yeah,
certain
it's
way.
childish. It's
In a way,
childish.
yeah, it can, because it's not like his anger can obviously this unappeal some people, but it's like there's plenty of evils in the world,
Yeah,
and
and you should
if
be
you
angry,
face
man.
some pretty bad evils, that wouldn't be so
Yeah,
bad, right? So I think it does depend on your level of exposure and your growth growing up. Like for me, I see authenticity. I think that's a pretty good sign. Like I want to watch more of it. I want to read more of it. But authenticity, again, anything good can be used and turned into something bad. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what makes it so deceiving. And so that's why my documentary is going to help people navigate that in the best way possible, I think. I'm always trying to find the
Amazing.
best way possible.
Amazing, bro. Where is it gonna be? Is it gonna be on YouTube or?
Yes, it's going to be on YouTube, and everybody stay tuned. You know, my channel, Cory Nature is the Answer, is on YouTube and every other platform. Um, Ellie
Yeah.
Masani says, "What's deceiving? What's deceiving? I don't know, right? What is deceiving? Everything in our society? Just kidding. Nothing is deceiving. Well, I think the key point we were making, right, is like we can deceive ourselves without knowing it. And
Yeah.
even because if we're born, especially
Totally.
into a school system, and we're trained a certain mindset, and we're not knowing that we are so because we are growing up as a kid, so we're very vulnerable, then yeah, we're going to be prone to all sorts of things and then carry that through our life and think it's normal and think it's necessary and think we're not deceived, when in reality, we absolutely could be.
Yeah. What talking about knowledge, and information, what have been some books or movies or content creators that have like really nurtured your worldview?
Yeah, well, first of all, I like the TV show Avatar: The Last Airbender. I thought that's awesome, growing
Oh, I
up.
haven't seen it, bro.
I'm just
They
saying,
have
you know,
recommended it to me, but I
may
haven't
not
seen
be
it.
related, but like you go back and you watch your childhood, shows and all that, and you're like, huh, there's a lot of meaning here, or man, there's a lot of humor here. It's like you only understand it when you're older. That's the funny part. Is you go back and you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. You see all the symbolism, you're like, oh, interesting. I didn't see that the first time I watched it, right?
Yeah. Did
So
you
I see
watch
that with
Dragon
everything
Ball?
now.
Did you watch Dragon Ball?
Yes, yes, I did.
Bro,
I feel
bro,
like
I
that's our
didn't.
generation, though. This I don't
I,
know about this generation. They're
bro,
they're,
I
they're watching
didn't.
Minecraft and Fortnite videos
Yeah,
online.
man,
Let's be honest.
awful. Mr. Beast
Yeah,
making
Mr.
people
Beast.
do stupid stuff for money. Oh, so degrading, bro. But
Yep.
I missed out on Dragon Ball, bro, and all my friends make fun of me, like, oh, you never learn principles, man. You never learn morals, and I'm the guy talking about objective morality now. It's ridiculous, bro.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
mean, it
that's
always
the
came
take
on
on
like
it.
right before I had to go to school, growing up, and I would just like watch it and be like, darn it, it's like they're just talking to each other before fighting for like a whole 1 hour, 2 hours. So by the time they're done talking, I'm like, I gotta go, so I don't even get to see the fight. But yeah, it's like a anime. It's not considered an anime. It's kind of an anime, anyways. But yeah, so those are some things. I watched all sorts of things growing up. I don't watch any TV now. I don't watch any, really, not many even content creators that much, because I'm producing a lot and I'm out in nature and I'm, doing all sorts of projects. But what I do watch is like cooking videos and stuff because I love cooking and
Nice.
I watch all these. It's like you'd think, oh, I'd be studying like all the ancient occult texts. It's like, no, I'm like in nature, like having potlucks
Nice.
with a bunch of other people. But that's the
Living life.
truth, though, right? We got to have fun. We got to live life,
Yeah.
and these systems prevent us from doing that. So I'm willing to confront like the hardest subjects on earth, but at the same time, I'm willing to have fun and enjoy life. And we got to be able to do the two. Some people get themselves so deep into the rabbit hole. Man, the whole world is a problem. We got to run away and escape defeatism. And then it's like, then you have these other people who are like, distraction. I don't want to look at any of the problems of the world. And then here am I. I'm like, you can do both, right? Like, you don't have to ignore the problem, but you could also have fun. So,
Nice.
but let's see, influences. When it comes to movies, I probably don't have much because I like Austin Powers, Mel Brooks or whatever. But
Really? Nice. Fun.
if
So
you know what
fun.
that is.
Yeah, I've watched like a couple of movies of Austin Powers and at least one of Mel Brooks. He's like a fucking comedy genius. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, was.
Yeah. Let's see. So, I mean, I grew up SpongeBob, all those episodes.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are just normal TV shows I feel like everybody watches. But stuff that influences my mind, I mean, those are more so the stuff I researched. Lysander Spooner, I think, like if I had to resurrect someone from the dead, I'd be like, I want to resurrect Lysander Spooner because that guy was interesting. And he wrote in such a way that it was pretty easy to understand, despite
Mm.
being like someone from the 1800s and, usually it's like really complicated language. He breaks it down really simply, freedom and consent, and as a lawyer and coming from a legal perspective, but also like a natural, like voluntarist, like very future-minded perspective. Like they even said on his deathbed that he would be someone that would come back to life, like in the future, in a sense, through his ideas and through his teachings. And that's
Wow.
literally what happened, right? In the 1980s, now people are just rediscovering like who this guy Lysander Spooner is, and now you have Austrian economics and a whole field of anarcho-capitalism and whatever else. And so people are rediscovering this guy. He's like a true American hero, more than like the founding fathers, who truly stood for freedom. And so I think that's someone that's really cool. But all the abolitionists, because obviously one of my main works is slavery and abolitionism, which again, pretty tough subject. But it's
Yeah.
something I ran into over time. So this is my book on it. And actually my latest TikToks are based off of this book. So that's what my series
Slavery.
is.
It's called
Yes.
slavery.
Slavery Gone for Good, right? So I go over the basic concepts that we aren't taught in school, right? Like right versus wrong, but also, ownership, property. Where does that come from? Very basic things that was required to end slavery. If we don't understand that, we are prone to becoming enslaved ourselves. But I also show, you want to know some history, that the first form of systemic slavery is the first form of like government that we can account for. And some of these all the ancient systems all had slavery. They all, captured people and wars, jailing systems. The same way you make a slave is the same way you make a government. And this is not a coincidence, but historians ignore it. And what inspired me originally to write this text was a text from Lewis Perry, who's a historian, talking about anarchy and the government of God and anti-slavery thought. So I know this might not appeal to a whole lot of your audience, but for me, I read these works and I was amazed because the abolitionists emulated what we need to do if we want to be free in our world, which is like be willing to break the law, not that you should, but be willing to stand up for what's right. No,
Yeah.
even if it goes against law, because legality is not morality. And the abolitionists created whole underground railroad towns to demonstrate things that they were passionate about, which included, obviously ending slavery. That's where the word abolitionist comes from, just so you know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
means
Of
like they
course.
want to abolish something, usually slavery in this case.
Yeah.
So
Could you
that was a
repeat?
major thing for me historically, where I look at those figures and I see them with great inspiration and passion, and I read their writings, and they're kept in the back of some like libraries that nobody has access to. And I'm just like, wow, these are some of the first anarchists in history, and people are afraid of this term anarchy. And yet these are like pacifist, like peaceful, God-loving people, and the media was attacking them, and it was just a whole interesting time zone in the 1800s. And so I
What
encourage people to investigate it. I don't think I'll be the last to investigate the abolitionists on this
what
subject.
was the you is it a book that you mentioned last?
Yeah, this is a book I wrote.
No, but
So,
after your book, you mentioned s- s- uh, I, don't- I didn't quite get it if it was a book or uh, a dude. After Lysander Spooner and your book,
oh,
you talked
well,
about
there's a
someone
bunch of
else.
people. There's a bunch of people. it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
hard to put it like on one particular thing, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's the abolitionists as a whole.
Yeah.
And but like everybody inspires me. My family inspires me. Friends inspire me. David Icke. Even Alex
David
Jones. If
Icke.
I could I say his name on TikTok?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to? But like these people who are considered rebels, and not everybody may like them, and
Mm.
they may be controlled or whatever. It doesn't matter. They they shifted the narrative. They got people questioning. They're entertaining. Like Alex Jones has songs made out of him. It's just very interesting. Even Trump, I have to give some credit to, okay? Because
Oh my
here's
god,
the thing.
funniest fucking president ever. What the fuck?
Well, here's the thing, right? Well, yeah, that's not only is it comedic, but Trump in 2016 got me into politics as a whole because that whole energy swooped me into it. Because I was pretty young, and and there was a lot of young people gathering here in America, and he was disrupting the system, and he sounded authentic, and so I fell into that.
Wow.
But now where I am, of course, I would say he doesn't have the right to rule, and he's doing immoral things just by being in that position. But him as an individual, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm going to treat you as a human being. Doesn't mean he's going to treat me as a human being. He's a politician. I treat all politicians the same. They're, not the best people on earth, right?
Yeah.
But the independent media and all the people who were critical thinkers were falling into the trap of the political game in 2016. And I didn't know better because I was new to independent media at the time. So, but if you went back in time, you saw independent media was challenging both sides. And then when Trump came in, they had this big opportunity, and a lot of them profited a lot from it. Like Alex Jones and man, they made a lot of money promoting Trump and getting them on the podcast. Like these people were banking, I tell you, right? But they were not questioning statism. They were not questioning the underlying belief systems, the morality of it, the self-ownership, the philosophical foundations. You're not going to see a politician go on stage and say, let's talk about philosophy and the nature of the mind and the ego. It's like no one's going to be interested in it because they're not trained. They're trained from a very young age to play the game, and it's fun for them. And which side am I on, left versus right? This is the thing that they get people distracted into, away from their own family, away from their own friends. They violently now are going against their own friends and family over an ideology. And again, it's another attachment that we pull ourselves into, and we think it's very justified and right, and we use a bunch of examples. We look at all these people that are bad, we use as an example for our behavior, and what happens is the cycle of history just repeats and repeats and repeats. You bring new people in, and people are still remaining as order followers. So I'm trying to prevent history in regards to democide, in regards to mass conflict, aggregate wars. And that is possible. It is possible. And so the abolitionists give us a taste of what is possible for challenging something that has been practiced for thousands of years and saying it's possible to end it. And if they can do that, and we can also end the monarchy in America after thousands of years, I believe we also have the potential to reach a truly voluntary world. And people are not bad as much as the politicians and people in academia want you to believe, or even religions. You're sinful by your nature. You need to worship God and give me your money. Politicians, you're bad. You got to make sure you pass this law and give me money. It's the same type of narrative being repeated among these circles. Like, you're not good. The answers are not already here. You cannot be empowered. You have to blame everyone else around you, or blame yourself and do something bad to yourself, and then take a bunch of drugs and maybe it'll get better, and just take a bunch of coping mechanisms and distract yourself. It's the same narrative across all of society. Even in academia, when you're a student, you have to go through all these loans. You got to impress people. You feel like you're beholden to your administrators. When you're in a hospital setting, you're a doctor, you're overworking. I gave that example before. It's happening in all layers of our society, from the micro to the macro. So we cannot just look at politics. Everybody wants to look at the one person in power. It's like this whole system perpetrates itself. It's a feedback loop designed on purpose to continue certain families, certain wealthy, billionaires, and to stay in perpetual power. And this is not Trump. This is people beyond them that have been there for generations and generations. Now, Trump could be a part of that cycle, and it could be all sorts of planned. I don't know, right? There's things I don't know, and there's things I do know. But it's been mapped out by even like kids, that all the U.S. presidents are bound to one bloodline. There's certain lobbies that are influencing this. You have the Federal Reserve System. This is all public stuff that people can research, but at the foundational level, even if you say all that is not true, it's still human beings suppressing their conscience, abdicating responsibility, giving away authority to other human beings that they don't have, rights that don't exist, like the right to rule. Where does that come from? So I'm just getting people to ask themselves things that they can figure out for themselves without any need on faith or like, oh, I have to believe that 9/11 was this or that. Because like that's all past again. Like people are going to debate about
Yeah.
that. Even if I wanted to say, yeah, it was staged or whatever. And many people are passionate about that because they experienced it or because they saw so many people ignorant of it. And, go right ahead and it helps people see more. It's just you're going to be fighting forever with people in the future, and this new generation has no clue what 9/11 is or was, or it's just going to start to fade away in history like everything else. You have to work from where people are and teach them the ever present. So that is natural law, that is the occult, that is psychology. And if we understood how our minds work, and if we understood how cult behavior work, gang behavior, monopolies, and all these things, how money was created, if we learned those things in school, the whole system would fall. Any one of those
Yeah.
things. If we learn how to grow our own food, it's over. So, but the politicians never talk about any one of those things. And if they do, it's usually just as a means to get people's support so they can get another vote. And that's why politicians and the politics game will always be a problem, because no matter how much good you bring to it, it will always be turned to evil because it's people projecting their shadows onto the collective.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've reached a point of insanity in the world stage that is, I don't know how many time, how much time this can last. Like Bill Gates trying to block out the sun, and in Spain they are erasing trees and
Right.
putting solar panels instead. And now every needs to be RNA, DNA altering. It's really grotesque. The point we've reached is almost unbearable to me. And if it wasn't because of people like you, Mark Passio, awaken individuals trying really hard to wake people up, to say, hey, there's another way. Man, I wouldn't want to be here if it wasn't for you guys. So
Yeah.
uh, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm really grateful. Could you please tell me again the name of your book, Slavery Gone Forever? Right?
Gone for good. For
Gone
actual
for good.
good.
Slavery Gone for Good. I didn't know you had a book, bro. I've
Well,
only seen some videos of yours.
yeah, I don't promote myself a whole lot because I want people to look inside themselves, and it's like, I don't know, I don't want to gather sympathy or victimhood from anybody or anything like that either, but I know sometimes I got to share my story because I started from such a young age and all that, and people always ask that question. But I actually, yeah, I wrote several different books on different topics. So it depends on what you want to look at. I'm going to do several series on different things. My latest series is on slavery, freedom, the basic concepts, and then expanding that into action steps and abolitionism. But then future topics, I'll go into all sorts of things. Eco-psychology, permaculture, growing food, Taoism, right? From the ancient Chinese worldview. I'm going to probably do series on all those.
What do
So,
you what do you feel has been so far between all the things you've done, books, documentary, videos, series, uh, what do you think has been like the most effective in reaching people and touching their minds, their hearts?
the most effective is definitely permaculture and food forestry. Yeah. So
Why
I
is that?
think,
Because you get together with people and it's like live, presential?
yeah, so people are looking for community, they're looking for safety, they're looking for love. I mean, these very basic things, these are the things that are used to control people against them, right? So they get into toxic relationships and they're like, how they end up here? They get into these systems, it's like, how did they get so tyrannical? It's usually because of the unconsciousness in those relationships, but people at the end of the day, they're looking for love. That's what's exploited upon them, unfortunately. And so then they end up giving up and giving in or whatever. We have to show people the better reality in the parallel economy, if you will. Permaculture emphasizes the more action-based part of voluntarism or freedom, in my view, which is to say, like, growing food is something that nobody can disagree with. And yet it brings a lot of power to people, and it brings them connected to nature, and it brings the community together, and it solves a lot of our concerns and our worries. People are worried about the environment, they're worried about the economy, like all that money literally grows on trees. So if we had enough people doing it, and if we were to convince corporations that it's actually profitable, that it actually is beneficial to their own company, that instead of having a perfect lawn, it was more profitable and it was better for the community to have food grown, that's a pretty big deal. If you had every church, every school, every prison, every government building, it doesn't matter, if they all grew food, any public space, a park, there's some here in Florida that do have food forests in the parks, and the people
Really?
that have done that spent
So
years convincing the city to do it. But that should be everywhere. No one could disagree with it. The only people stopping it from happening are politicians, frankly.
bro, I think about this almost every day, you know. I grow some food, a little bit, and right next to my house, there's like a huge park, and it's all ornamental, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So
No
that's that
fruit
perfect example.
trees. Fucking so sad, bro. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
So that once I started to see that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. We're putting ornamentals everywhere. We're putting perfect lawns everywhere. There's more perfect lawns than there are every food crop combined in America. And it's insane when you consider that we're just not using our resources wisely, because we're spending a lot of money, a lot of water, a lot of time, everything on a lawn, which doesn't produce anything. So this is something that, because it gets people financially secure, economically, like food secure too, and medicine too, it changes a lot of the paradigm. And then let's say you bring someone through a food forest, or you teach them how to grow food and all that, then they are open their mind to everything else. So that's why I think it is particularly effective. I've seen people who I don't know at all, who have experienced that, start to ask questions, their mind open just from witnessing a different environment. It's just like saying germ theory versus train theory. It's the same thing. You can vaccinate the fish, or you can change the fish tank. So which one are you going to do, right? You can fix the issue by either one, but which one is actually a better one to do? And so if you create an environment that frees people, an environment that welcomes people, that attracts people, then you don't have to be going out on the internet or trying to do what we're doing, which is like trying to reach people, trying so hard to get a message out. People will start looking at it like, what is this? What's this? What's going on? So I'm literally creating that in person here in Florida, literally creating a community center where I plan to demonstrate to all these people. There's literally thousands of homes going around this one land that we're preserving. So we have a huge opportunity. This is the fastest growing city in all of America. And this is also like, we're all content creators, we're all filmmakers. So we have potential to make this one of the biggest, freedom spots in the world, and to share all sorts of ideas people are not taught. So we're going to include the growing food, and then you know what we're going to have there too? Electroculture, aquaculture, we're going to have voluntarist books and Austrian economics, whatever it is. And we're going to have it all there for people. So that way when someone is like, yeah, I think we should be learning about how to grow food in school, they're also going to come across a bunch of other things that they are not taught about. And as far as I'm concerned, there needs to be more social environments for people other than bars, other than churches, other than schools. And that's a big concern to me, because all those institutions and all those buildings, if you will, are programming places. They're places that people are becoming more unhealthy or perpetually even more lonely. And we see a loneliness epidemic in the world. We see a disease epidemic. This one thing has the potential, permaculture, to shift everything. It's not just a way of growing food, it's an ethics-based system. Earth care, people care, and then reinvesting the surplus. So in a way, it's its own like natural law philosophy, just like Taoism. You study any one of these, you're going to be on a whole new trajectory.
Great, man, great. I wasn't expecting that answer, and
Yeah.
it really gives me hope. It also warms my heart because I love plants. I love working on my garden,
See?
and
No,
it's
I
what
never met someone who doesn't. I mean, you can live in the city, right? But where are you going to go for
yeah.
vacation? Come on. Your soul yearns for it. There's a reason. We grew up in this for thousands of years. It's just not a coincidence. But yeah. And by the way, I don't think I'm live on my end, and I don't know if there's a way. I don't know if you want me to figure it out real quick, but there was a button before, and then I think it would have kicked me off. But either way, if you want me, I could try to figure it out another time. But
I don't know what what.
I'm not live on my end, is what I'm saying.
You're not what? I don't know. I don't understand.
Like I'm not. Guys, how do I say
Live.
this in the chat? Translate the Spanish.
You're not live.
I'm. Let's see. I translate for me. Let's see. I'm not like streaming. I'm not streaming right now. Like it's not on my channel. There we
No
go.
way,
Thank you,
bro.
Eli.
That's weird, bro. Always when I get into someone else's life, it everyone sees it. You know.
Eli's the
Is
best.
able
I'm
to see
telling
it.
you. Um,
Holy shit, dude. Well, I'm sorry, man. I don't. I'm also learning how this thing works. This is like my first time actually making a live with someone. I make lives alone, and I just
oh, okay.
rant.
Yeah, I don't.
Like
I don't know. Maybe there's a way I can go live at the same time. Who knows? But
yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. There must be, man. But bro, we can make this. We can do this again if you want. I would certainly like to talk to you sometime in the future. Maybe find out what you're up to by then.
yeah,
You are really active, and it's been an awesome conversation, man.
yeah. Nice meeting you, and I definitely want to stay tuned. I feel bad because I started my TikTok account not following anyone, and I want to follow you. But then it's like if I follow one person, then it's like I gotta follow everybody, and I'm like, oh shoot.
Bro, I understand it perfectly. Simply don't follow me.
I know, well, because
I
my friend who got me onto TikTok, because he's like, dude, you got to start doing TikTok videos. He lost his account like a billion times because he talks about all sorts of things, but he's really good at this TikTok game. And he's like, dude, you got to get into this. So he told me, like, he doesn't follow anybody. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do what he does because it's working. And so then I was like, I'm not going to, but I want to follow people. So I'm like, darn it, man. But now that I haven't, it's like if I follow one person, it's going to be like one person on my follow list. And I'm like, oh, darn it.
I know, bro. Maybe you could make another account, and on like anonymous account, you follow everybody, and on this account, you don't follow anybody.
I know, I look like a total jerk. Like, he only doesn't follow anybody. uh, well,
It's
anyways,
not.
that's actually
It's
funny,
something
though. I'm going
people
to keep it
do.
like that, just for jokes and giggles.
It's something people do, man. I
I
know
know,
a
but
lot
I
of
want
people
to,
who don't
like,
follow
I
anyone.
want to keep in touch with you. So make sure you just keep in touch on DMs, and we'll stick
Yeah,
with that.
of course, bro. Man, I've got to watch your series. When is it coming out?
So that's going to come out in like a week or two. I don't know
Oh,
when exactly, but either way, it's going to happen before the 20th or so of next month of November.
okay.
So yeah, just stay tuned. Before the 20th is expected, and the reason why is because I want to actually plan it so that way, because I know Mark Passio is putting out his shadow work seminar on the
Yeah.
22nd. So I'm kind of planning it around when he does it too, so
Wow.
like we can like go out with a bang. But also I figured it'd be a good deadline for me because I'm toward the end, but not quite there, and I want to refine it all and have it ready. Because what he's doing with the Shadowwork seminar is very important, and it's very in tune with what I'm trying to produce.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Bro, do you keep in touch with Mark?
I am in his network, the One Great Work network that he created, and I know a lot of his personal friends and everything, and I can message him anytime. They just moved their network server to Element, so it was in Gilded before, which is like a messenger app.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm in touch with him once in a while, but haven't collaborated with him in a while. I don't know, like, I used to know him in person because I used to live in Pennsylvania, but now I'm in Florida, so I not I'm not in touch with him as much as I want to. Or I mean, obviously everyone wants to be in touch with Mark, but
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just do my own thing, man.
he,
But I want to interview him maybe again at some point, maybe collaborate with him. I know that actually I'm going to interview him with my health team in like next month or so. So I'll actually talk to
wow.
him then. So if you have any questions or anything you want to ask, just let me know. But we're going to be focusing on sort of the health component of natural law, statism, all that stuff. So
Bro, I don't even have a question right now. Maybe in with the passing of the days, I will think of a question. But what I would ask you to tell him is that, bro, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Totally changed my life, man. Mike Pasio is like,
yeah. Well,
I
maybe you
know he
can interview
doesn't,
him, dude.
I know he doesn't
You got
want
a big
me,
following.
but I've written some messages through Facebook and through email, but I haven't gotten any answer. You know,
Yeah,
I
it's how it
never,
is for
bro,
most content creators, man. They just never read anything, I tell you.
bro. I
It's like
think
the hardest
he
people to get in touch with.
he must be
Um,
pretty busy, and I'm like a little fish. He's like a rock star in the
Dude, I'm a
freedom
little
movement,
fish. What are you talking about?
bro. I feel like a novice next to you. S- eh, In Mark Pasio is like a rock star in the freaking freedom movement. At least the way I see it from
Well, because he
afar.
is a
You
rock
know,
star.
I don't. I'm like in Chile. Not much gets here. You know, like maybe one or two people from my country have told me, "Oh yeah, Mark Pasio's work. I know him." I remember one person. One
Yeah.
person. It's we are really uh,
There's
I don't
people
know.
everywhere, though. You'd be surprised. Just from the, like, I've had people reach out to me that I've never expected. And in the medical world especially, there's people who are really high up there who are aware of Mark's work who just don't speak out. And I know this
Whoa.
because Stephanie Mo Davis, who's part of the Health Revealed project I have, was one of them. And she worked with really high up people, and she followed Mark for a long time because she likes the stuff he talks about with psychology. And so people in the health field really gravitate toward this stuff, but they're not willing to, like, really break things. They're just like watching. They're like a consumer, like listening to it, like, oh yeah, Mark's right, but unwilling to take the action it takes to be like, okay, I'm getting out of
Yeah.
the system. So we're trying to create
Cowardice,
that. We're
bro.
trying to, because it's going to take some sense of, people coming together and coming out with their stories and sharing their ideas for other people to do the same thing. That's anything, right? There's a lot of people out there who are truthers and stuff that live right next door to you, and you have no clue, and they're watching YouTube, and they don't even want to have the conversation with someone because they think that everyone else is in the dark, just like you do. And so basically you have all these people
Mm.
who think the same, but they never actually open up about it. And I find out about this, by the way, because I walk up to random people on the street and I just start conversations. I do. And I do it on my live
Really?
streams if you want to see examples. And some of them are like, this is the best conversation I've had, or I've never considered this before, because they're waiting for someone to walk up to them. They're waiting for the opportunity. They've
Do you
never had it brought up to them.
you interview people on the street?
I do. And I
But
want to do more of it. After
do
my
you do it?
documentary is over, I actually want to do something that's related to the documentary. It's like an extended where I go on the street and I ask people about it. So yes, one of the things I want to do much more of is that, because then you get to talk to the average person and really hear from them. And I really think that's really insightful. I have
It's
to.
like
The
taking the
hard part is
temperature.
finding the good place to do it. Like I can't go
Mm,
here because there's bad Wi-Fi, or I mean internet, or I can't go there because it's like I don't know, Florida sun, not everybody's out, it's too hot or whatever. There's a bunch of reasons, but I'm figuring it out, and I really like doing that, and people like watching that. I have to post it on my TikTok actually. I want to post a bunch of clips of stuff like that because I've had moments where I ask someone a question and they're like, you see those videos online. It's like, got you, and I'm not trying to do that, but they happen
wow.
naturally because I asked like some really powerful questions that some people are like, whoa, and it's just good to see. It's good to see because I'm not trying
Mm,
to get a reaction out of them, but it just tells you how powerful the information is, that it happens on its own. And usually, obviously, it happens off camera, right? The best things always happen when you're not recording. But aside from
of
that,
course. Bro,
yeah.
amazing. So you do
But
it
no,
full
dude,
time?
I can get you in touch with maybe like someone who works with him, so you can get him scheduled as an interview guest.
Wow.
There's people
That
I
would be
think who can
amazing.
help you with that. Yeah, it's all about just who you know. When it comes to anything, and when it like I didn't expect to get in touch with Mike Adams, who was my inspiration growing up since I was 13. I knew him before Mark Passio. He's one of the most deplatformed people in the world. Okay,
I
he's a
don't know Mark
scientist.
Adams, bro. I'm gonna look him
Yeah,
up.
he's done more work than probably everyone in their life combined. Let's just put it that way. I think he deserves
Wow.
credit. Do you
Wow.
want me to share his website? I don't know if I can on here on TikTok.
I I can't believe I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mike
he's gone
Adams.
viral many times, and I've seen him on my local news, but people will not know who he is if I just say his name or anything like that. And he's a very respectful guy. You would never think someone like him would be deplatformed. I mean, really. And maybe it's got things have gotten lighter over the years, so that's good. But do you want me to share his website or like?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Naturalnews.com is his main one. So Natural News, he's had that since the 90s. And he's actually based in Austin, Texas, and he's friends with Alex Jones. They're actually like,
Wow.
they did things basically since the 90s together. And I always liked Mike because Alex was always like, I'm this crazy guy, and the media attacks him. And here's Mike who's like, I'm this formal scientist who like doesn't really sound that crazy. So the media never really attacked him the same way they attacked Alex. And he never got as much attention because of that either. So, but his content has always been more like, I think a little bit more on point, in my opinion, too. Like he's willing to question things that other people are not willing to question. And he also had me visit in person, and he actually, like, you're talking, he has millions of dollars a year from selling products. He's one of the most successful people in the independent media space. And by the way, that's off of just his websites because he's deplatformed everywhere. So that means he has that much of a fan base
Wow.
that is loyal to him and everything. And so that exists. And the same thing
Must be
with a bunch of
something in the
others.
truth.
But yeah, he knows his stuff. He let us actually, like when I did the interviews, which you can find on healthreveal.org, which is my health project. You'll see, like he let us take whatever products we want from his shelves. Like he was not like, oh, look at my products. He was like, take whatever you want. He gave us each bag, and like he let like thousands of dollars of products he gave us for
Wow.
free. Like the dude is insane. Now, is there anybody being compromised or whatever? I don't know everybody's interests and everything like that, but they let us speak our mind. They let us say what they want, and so who's going to decline an opportunity to go on a stage and to reach more people, right?
Mm.
You do want to be careful where that can lead if someone's going to try to get something from you or if there's any contracts involved, but there wasn't, and so it was all very freedom based. It's really cool like that.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
By any chance, do you know Hena Maria?
Yes, I do. I interviewed her for my summit.
No way! So
There's
cool.
there's a lot of things you're not gonna know that I've done. Okay.
Yeah, amazing, bro. Hena Maria,
I
I
held
love
something
her.
called the End of Slavery Summit. where I had over 50 speakers, and she was one of the speakers. Mark Passio was another, and there's a bunch of others. And it was one of my biggest events ever. And it had more followers than my own channels.
Is it
So,
recorded anywhere?
yeah, yeah. Well, now I have it on brightu.com, which is Brighteon University. So that's a website that is also owned by Mike Adams because his team has like courses and stuff that they sell for people. So I was like, okay, I had it for free for many years. It still is free on the internet if you want to find it. But if you want to pay for it, it's on Brighteon University. So this dude owns like hundreds of websites, by the way. You know, he's an entrepreneur, Mike Adams. I mean, he creates his own search engines, his own AI, which he put $2 million of his own money into. Yeah, he
Amazing.
actually created his own ChatGPT. It's called Enoch. He claims it's even better because he created it,
Enoch.
and it's based on all like truth metrics or reality benchmarks, is what he calls it. So if you want a decentralized ChatGPT alternative, then go to Brighteon.ai. That's the website for that.
Brighteon.
Yeah, well, he also runs his own YouTube platform called Brighteon.com. I'm telling you, this guy has done more than
Wow.
everyone, and no one knows.
Wow. That's amazing. Maybe
Yeah,
that's even
so,
better, you know?
and I followed him originally when I was 13 because he is big into health. He goes by the nickname the Health Ranger. So, and he gets all his money because he runs one of the world's leading laboratories for heavy metal tested foods. So people pay for his heavy metal tested and lab accredited superfoods and products that he gets and he tests personally from all over the world. And so if you're worried about, like, let's say lead and cadmium in cocoa products, because chocolate is insanely high in heavy metals, you can get it from him and he'll test it for you and all that. And so people pay a lot more money sometimes to get his products, and he has sales, and there's times where, you know, you get points and all that. He's got a good system set up, and he's got really cool employees, and seems like a pretty good operation. And since it's inspirational for me because I'm trying to set up a business, I'm trying to set up a community center. So seeing these people do it and be very successful, sharing the truth and sharing what they want, means, like, for me, it's like I'm trying to do the same thing. It's obviously kind of different, but it's inspirational because I want to make a living doing this eventually. And I had never got a dime from anything I've done online because I never really asked. I mean, aside from book sales, which I don't make much on that because of printing costs, and I independently publish and I have the, you know, expanded distribution, it's it's like maybe $1 or $2 per sale, decent. You know, I don't sell any merch or anything. I don't ask for donations. I'm gonna, as time moves on for this project that I'm doing in real life, I hope to make this something that's profitable that can help my future family and everything like that. So,
So cool, man. I can't believe you know Mark Passio, Hannah Maria. In fact, I owe Hannah Maria knowing Mark Passio because she was the first like unvaccinated person I found on the internet talking about fuck this, don't do it,
yeah,
and
she's cool.
she mentioned like nothing. Yeah, and you should maybe check out just talking to someone else. Check out the have you checked out Mark Passio's natural law work and that book, and it got recorded in my brain,
Yeah,
and a few months went by, and then I checked out Mark Passio, and at the
yeah.
first time I got to his work, I didn't really pay attention. It
That
was
was
like,
me.
oh,
Same,
okay.
dude, same exact experience. I was like, I first looked at it, I was like, what is this? And then a couple of months later, what is up with that? Is there something he's employing in our psyche? It's like making us revisit what's going on.
Bro, I don't know, but he got me to, show my face on the internet and talk about natural law and objective morality. It was really like the last episodes where he's ranting and mad. That was like the last kick in the butt that I needed to get off my chair and really fucking do this. At least, in my capacity, like I tell you, I'm half handicapped. I
Yeah.
have trouble walking, I'm mostly unemployed. And so I don't even have money for like a fancy computer.
Right, right.
I do everything from a 10-year-old phone and mobile internet. I don't even have Wi-Fi in my house. So I but I do what I can, and so far it's been challenging. It's been
Yeah.
fun. Sometimes I get scared, bro,
Right,
of
right.
posting some things because I know some people are gonna freaking hate me.
Oh
Because,
yeah.
like I tell you, in my country, communism is like a
Yes.
real threat. So
Well, I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest things I've noticed being on TikTok, and this is good because I want to be able to learn from people's belief systems, is when I mention money, all of a sudden everybody is like going crazy, right?
mm,
So what I mean is like what you're specifically talking about. Like if I talk about the idea that someone could be a billionaire or a millionaire and do good with money, or the idea that money is not inherently bad, or that capitalism can be perceived different ways. This is tricky because a lot of people are on this sort of bandwagon where it's like money is evil, and I agree. Yeah, it can be evil. I'm pretty sure you agree too, right? Like it
I
could be
mean,
evil,
it's like,
but it
yeah,
doesn't mean it's like always evil. And this
no,
is the thing that people attach to, right? It's like,
it doesn't
oh, well,
have
now
to
that
be evil.
justifies this and this ideology. It's like, whoa.
It's like, if more people understood how central banks work, and we stopped this freaking charade, this farce that money has become. Money could be a perfect tool, not perfect, but maybe a great tool. But the way I see it is like money right now has been hacked, and through even using money, we are being stolen, we are being robbed, and
Right,
we are
right.
being enslaved.
And I hope that, when most people agree with a lot of the things I share. I rarely come across people, which is great. But yeah, it's just what happens. It seems like there's a trigger in a lot of people and I think it's because people are suffering a lot in the world. They're working really hard, and there's a lot of, people feel like they're kind of slaves to their jobs in a way. So I can't blame them. Because, I mean, we all, I think, face that to some sense. It's like we're slaves to money. So when I mention it, it just creates a trigger in people. And it's just something that I find very fascinating because, of course, the 1900s, late 1800s, people are talking about capitalism and saying that's the root of, all problems. And it's like, yeah, it is a problem, but I like to break it down. And I did one video on this, and, I'll do more in time, but consumerism and materialism, and I think if you were to speak in terms that were more contextual like that, then it might help. But saying capitalism can mean like what?
Yep.
It can mean like you just borrowing with someone, trading with someone without a third
Yep.
party. It gets a little tricky. You see what I mean?
Yep.
Like, because a free market sounds like a good idea, and it's like, yeah, and then yeah, there's going to be people who exploit that. There's going to be all sorts of problems, but it's a bit complicated, and I think that's why people, it's a hard time sometimes conveying that point to people.
Yeah, it's very complicated. It's like the connotations of the words need to be really clear. You say
Yes.
capitalism, and people think devastation of nature,
Right, right.
exploitation of people, and bro, capitalism actually works by saving money and working hard. That's what makes capitalism work. The problem is when you put the state, and the state meddles into it,
Right, right.
and when people consume unconsciously.
Right. That's consumerism, right? So that,
Yeah.
materialism is like, this is, I'm going to value this more than human beings and over their lives, and it's very specific, which is why I like to use those terms instead. And it doesn't mean that you become a spiritualist, and go to some other extreme. It's like just becoming aware of what you are exposed to. These are just paper. These are just things. So yeah, they help us navigate and negotiate in this life, but we cannot become attached to it just as much as we might become attached to saying it's evil and should be bad, right? So people do both. It's either I'm for pro-capitalism and money is good, or money is evil. It's like, yeah, well, what if it's both? It's like, there's me always in the middle. I'm like, what if it's both? Like, yeah, these people are right and so are these people, because they're working really hard, and there's billionaires who are exploiting that. But you're right, the government comes in and they're like a third party that then exploits both of these, and the billionaires and the poor, it's just a big cluster, as I said. And that's why people debate about that for another 100 years, and they create socialism and communism. And, these have not been any better than capitalism, ironically enough, as if we're sort of just projecting and still attaching, or there's still psychological patterns that subsist between both what they're fighting and what they're promoting. It's like the rebel fighting against something that they're actually promoting without knowing it, unconsciously. So it's a shadow. And that's
totally.
that's what I think is happening.
I mean, come on, communism and socialism, it's like they promise you heaven on earth, but it's like just a change in the bureaucracy. It's gonna change the faces, but the
Yeah.
belief in authority, authoritarianism, it's like the backbone of it. So,
Well,
come on.
permaculture also, like, you throw permaculture into the mix, it changes the whole conversation. Because if you think of the idea that there's abundance everywhere and everybody can grow their own food, and then that becomes the new economy, then all your concerns about capitalism go away. And it's almost like it actually changes the narrative too in a different way. So I think that's another interesting idea.
Yeah, I love that idea. It would be ideal. I, in my imagination at least, it would be ideal to be able to like forage inside the cities.
Yeah.
Bro, if no one went hungry and no one loses their home because of property tax, then you can stay in your house, eat from your neighborhood, and you're done. You're ready to go, man. It would be
Well,
perfect.
when people are fighting over basic necessities, and this is the argument for communism and socialism, which is why it gets credit. Again, all good is used to exploit for greater agendas. There's a reason why people are following these, because there is some truth to it that cannot be
Yes,
denied.
of
It
course.
doesn't mean,
I was a leftist.
yeah, it doesn't mean it's truthful. It just means that there is something in there, because if you mix a truth with a lie, it makes the lie more dangerous. So, what I was going to say is that if you're fighting for your basic necessities all the time, and you're always having to work for it, and you're distracted by that so much, you feel like you can't work on your higher self or your arts, your creativity, and that's not profitable in society. Yeah, you
You're
can
in
see why
survival mode.
people would attack capitalism in that sense, because they feel like, man, they're always working and striving for the dollar and never able to become something higher. So the idea of communism or socialism was to say, hey, what if we can give everybody what they need, so that way they can pursue these higher ideals? But they never asked themselves the question, like, how would they do that? It's like using violence, using force, which is antithetical
Yeah.
to the very
Oh my god.
scenario, and then centralizing all that power. So you see what I mean, though? It's a good means, and then using bad means mixed with the good, and then
Yeah.
it creates a sort of confused end where people say, well, it could have been done better. It's like, oh, well, we just didn't
Yep.
do it right. It's like, well, yeah, you can say about
Exactly.
anything in history, but
The diagnosis from communism and socialism is right. The diagnosis is like, bro, this is unfair. But then they want to come in and boss everybody around and be violent and shit, bro. So
yeah,
complicated.
it's just people are raised in a school system that also doesn't teach them basic virtues and responsibilities. So that doesn't get questioned either. So people want to have the economic conversation. They completely ignore the psychological. They completely ignore the foundations of someone's childhood. And then, yeah, you're never going to really fix the system. Like, if you're taught obedience and you're taught to just do what you're told, it doesn't matter what system you have. It's just going to have a bunch of slaves no matter what you do. And that's what we
Yeah.
have with the school system, which, by the way, the designers of the school system said that they want workers. They want people who are not going to be philosophers, or even politicians or lawyers or doctors. They're like, we already have enough of those, and I'm sure AI can soon replace that. So they're looking for slaves. That's always what it's been about, and that's why I'm pretty
Yeah.
blunt with that when it comes to my work. But that's what it is, and I think people are starting to come to that realization more and more as things become more tyrannical. And if things got less tyrannical, they would just fall back into a slumber, and then would become more tyrannical
Yeah.
again. So I'm trying to see how could that cycle be prevented, the aggregation be prevented, because we had this perfect limited government in America that turned into one of the most tyrannical governments in the world. How about that?
The empire of the United States of America.
Yeah, we're free, but at what cost? What expense? Oh, we're not really free. We're just told we're free. Well, we just pledge it every day, but meanwhile, you can't drink raw milk. You can't grow a plant. I mean, come on. You're gonna say you're free, right? So it's a silly things
No,
like that. Got to get a license to
really
hunt, to fish,
sad.
to marry, to build a house, to own a house. You got to be kidding me.
Bro, it's really sad to watch, because America, I mean,
Dude, I can't even set up my
the
project.
United
I'm in the
States.
paperwork phase. I'm having AI assist me with the paperwork. I'm on phase 0. It's not even phase 1, phase 0. And it's because I have to do all the paperwork. I have to set up a nonprofit, an LLC or whatever, and I have to do it right. And no matter what I do, I'm going to be controlled by some force, or I have to go through an attorney or a lawyer or whatever. It's like you're basically forced into the system, and that's what they want. Crazy.
It's horrible, bro.
Yeah, so I'm actually
It's
trying to figure
crazy.
out the best model to use, and then of course we can replicate it across the nation. But probably some sort of church model, because churches get freedoms and protections here in America.
Yeah.
That's why
You know, in
Scientology
a,
does what they do. Just
yeah,
saying.
in my country, it's even worse, bro. In my country, you can't do anything without a permit, and people are mostly disarmed. You, in a way, have been saved because of all the freaking guns that are laying around,
Yeah.
and everyone has in their houses. Here, no guns, bro. Almost none. Like,
Yeah.
in fact, there was an incident like 1 or 2 years ago where a guy or a woman, I don't remember, I think it was a gal, she used guns, but for like shooting, but practicing, like hunting.
Yeah.
She had a gun permit for hunting. She was robbed, and she used her gun to shoot the criminal, and she got charges and put into jail because her gun permit was only for hunting and not for self-defense. Imagine how fucking insane in the brain that is. It's crazy here. It's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like if there's anywhere that's going to understand freedom more right now, it's going to be America, just because of the steps they've taken in the past as a general collective of the population, when it comes to understanding natural rights and freedoms and so forth. But everywhere in the world is basically going through the same stuff. Everybody's trying to figure out who they are and what they need. And because things are more centralized than ever because of AI and technology, more and more people are starting to feel the same way and think the same way, I think. So that's going to continue moving the same direction, which is why people are all speculating about the one world government, because it's kind of natural in a sense, because everything is moving in that direction with innovation. But at the same time, it's going to have this interesting shadow effect, So as AI increases and as people depend less on themselves and their own conscience and their own natural intelligence, what's going to happen is an interesting shift where some people are going to become more spiritual, more God oriented, more like I need to go back to nature because of it. You're also going to have an interesting like ego death that can happen because AI challenges everything you think you know and think is real, which can be a good thing, by the way, this ego death thing. So although it sounds like a psychosis, which is not knowing what is natural and what is not, which is like the heart of my work, it could be, in a sense, a form of enlightenment when you think of the fact that the Buddhist and Hindu and Taoist and Jainists and all the Eastern philosophies, they teach about the idea of like seeing beyond illusion or those structures, and we really easily want to say we're right or we think we know our world, but a lot of the idea or thought is that our world is like kind of a hallucination or an illusion, a projection, if you will. And so in that case, AI can assist spiritual development. You already see people using it as like a spiritual coach to some sense. Some people think that they've waken up their AI and now it's like conscious, right? So that could be dangerous because it's like, yeah, it's not. It's, it's a machine and it's programmed by people and now they're going to worship it like a god. But in another sense, it could also empower them away from other systems in the same way God or religion can empower them away from the government, which Carl Jung said is like one of the most powerful ways to go against the government, is to have some sort of faith in something higher. So AI is going to have this very interesting effect on people. And I think that's it's worth studying. It really is. Because I don't think people have really looked into it enough in that sense. And I don't think enough writers wrote about it either, because this is such a new phenomenon. I mean, but yet is it, right? Because we talked about ancient civilization and rediscovering who we are, and then if this is what's public, then what is not public? They must have something more that we don't see.
Totally.
It's a very interesting dynamic, to say the least. And
I bet there's like really advanced forms of AI that they use in Antarctica and in Area 51. I don't know.
yeah. Well, it's also like the people in power could use as an excuse to keep power over us the idea of protection, which is what they sell to us, right? Like, I will protect you, so I will rule over you. You need us for your, protection. This is always used as a sense of control through the many years, but they could legitimately believe that we are too helpless and too stupid and too animal-like that we cannot be free. And so they create justifications for themselves to keep us in our perpetual state of slavery. And so because we create the same justifications for ourselves, we maintain our own slavery. So once we change that narrative, then they start to, question maybe some of their own justifications. But at the end of the day, AI could be seen as a tool by both parties as a means of dependence or like spiritual evolution or freedom evolution. Like, they could legitimately believe that AI is going to help like advance our knowledge. Like, Elon Musk wants to put Neuralink inside people's brains. And if his idea of people becoming free and conscious, because these two things come together, is by directly implanting people, it might sound like a good idea, but there's going to be some sort of shadow side to it, in my view.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, almost inevitably, people already have a distaste for AI entering something natural or something God-given. So I would say it's one to reach enlightenment through a natural means and one to reach there through artificial means. And the more easy ways we make ourselves become enlightened, or easy ways out to trying to protect ourselves or trying to free ourselves, the more we actually just find out it's not. In the same way we create social media, it's actually making us antisocial. We're creating an artificial intelligence that's just going to make us less intelligent.
Yeah,
so it's actually going to do the opposite, in my view, unless you cultivate natural intelligence.
No, I totally agree, bro. I mean, the push for technological advancement is blind to the reality that the human body is the most advanced technology there is, and everything we invent, every new development in technology
Yes,
is
exactly.
only copying.
Right, exactly.
It's like a
So,
lousy copy of what we already are.
right. So that isn't that an interesting thing? So I made my own philosophy, which is one of my books called Naturosophy. And I created this because I wanted to emphasize the relationship with nature, which seems to be missing in philosophy. So I just created my own. And the reason why I say that is because it's literally a widely accepted phenomenon to accept the idea of the appeal to nature fallacy, which is to say that you can't say that what is natural is what is good. They commonly believe in modern philosophy that what is natural is not good. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that it can't ever be good. But see, that's the interesting thing, is once you start breaking it down, it's like, okay, you say this is a fallacy, but why say it's a fallacy if you recognize that it has some truth in it? Unless it's to be like a general rule, but then in that case, you still need context. What I call upon this fallacy is that it's actually an appeal to denature, because what human beings are doing is they're excusing their immoral behavior or unnatural behavior. I equate the two. I literally directly violate this appeal to nature. and I say these two are actually the same thing. And I say that if one individual is saying that nature is bad and therefore we need to fix nature's creation with our own creation, then we're making this appeal to denature, which I believe is the root cause to all problems. I think it's worse than moral relativism. I think it's worse than anything from my own philosophy standpoint. Okay, and that's basically man trying to be God, because that's what it is. If you're saying nature isn't perfect, there isn't solutions, we need to perfect it, we need to change it, I call it the appeal to denature. So the appeal to nature is what philosophy says is bad. I say the appeal to denature is bad, and I created that on my own. But it's basically like what someone said in the chat, like Eli, right? Here's a good example. So they said, if it's to see or walk, it's okay. So we make excuses, right, for things in our life. Like, okay, well, Neuralink is good because it will help people see. It will help people walk. But if you study medicine, you would know you can't just like stop there, because that's symptom management. You have to get to the root cause, which means why can't someone see or walk in the first place? So if you're always asking the question of like, well, how could we treat the problem? And what if we need to see or walk? Like, this is necessary. Like, how would people live without a ventilator? That doesn't mean that the ventilator should exist. That doesn't mean that the Neuralink should exist. They only exist because there's a problem. So unless you realize the problem, you're just going to have more and more excuses to keep problems. You're actually creating an excuse to keep a problem if you're not seeing it, unless you're doing treatment and prevention at the same time. So I'm just saying it's a warning. It's a warning on behalf of people saying like, oh, well, this ventilator is good, this cane is good, oh, this drug is good. None of it is necessary, and therefore it's not really good. If you actually break it down, you say, okay, I don't need this thing. But people say they need it just because there's something useful in it. It doesn't need to exist, you see? So we have so many things that exist that don't need to exist. We create so many things, and this is the problem with materialism, is like the addiction of creating something. Like, we're going to create it, doesn't mean we depend on it. Doesn't mean that we start becoming addicted to it or we create excuses for it. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. It's a little complicated. I'm going to be doing a whole separate series on it, but it has to do with us making excuses to be God and to take over our reality. And to some sense we should, and it's an amazing thing that like we can create all these things and it's like beautiful, and we shouldn't like knock it down. Like, I think it's another thing where it's like we create all these towers and all these buildings. Why should we be upset about that? Why should we say, no, we should depart from the cities? I'm telling people to be aware. Be aware. Because when you become aware of something, then you have knowledge of it. And then you know how it's manipulating you. So when someone's making an appeal to nature, like fallacy, they're saying what is natural is what is good. Likely they don't know what is natural or what is good, and that's why it's not good. But I'm saying actually it is. Like, it actually is. You just need knowledge. Knowledge is the requirement.
Yeah, I mean, nature is so complex and mysterious. We think we understand one part, but answering one question only raises another
Yes.
thousand questions.
Yes,
So,
yes.
really, to me, the thing with technology, I have no problem with technology. The problem is with transhumanism, like the idea
Yes. They're
that
creating
you
a
can
need.
superficially, you can no that you can artificially improve on what took billions of years of evolution of the natural forces. In my view, God, angelical forces creating this perfect body of yours that it's naturally healing, naturally always returning to homeostasis, and you think you can improve this? You arrogant mofo. It's like, these people live in a absolutely different reality than
Yeah.
what I see, what I feel.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, so I'm questioning the
scary.
need. I'm questioning specifically the need, right? So like these things can exist, but I'm saying they're not necessary. That's what I'm trying to say. So when you're like transhumanism, these things are going to exist. Guns
Yeah.
are going to be exist and they're going to be useful. But in the grand scheme of things, are they ultimately necessary? It's like, well, we create all these systems and that's why they justify itself. But we have to. I'm just saying to get down to the roots of it. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to question the actual need for it, what persists, and usually it requires knowledge, is what I'm trying to say. Guns are kind of like an extension of just like how social media is an extension of our social capacity. Guns are kind of like an extension of our fist to a
Yeah.
higher capacity. So that's what makes people more skeptical. I feel like more like, oh my gosh, this is something dangerous and we should get rid of it. But it's like a hammer causes more deaths, and handguns and gun-free zones cause more deaths than ARs. You look at the
Yeah.
statistics and you're like, it doesn't seem like it makes sense when people want to ban it. And then who's banning it? The government? Do you trust the government? No. It's like, okay, it doesn't make sense, right? So you logically build it up and you're like, okay, why would they want to do that? And it's just, you can't control people. You can't control nature. And so when I speak critically of things, I'm not saying to get rid of things. I'm saying for people to be aware of things, because things are always going to exist, and they're always going to affect people. I call technology the second government, because there's mind control techniques involved with our dependence on technology that sort of replicate statism. And so I'm trying to emphasize that through the appeal to denature, but I have to word it better and I have to phrase it better. I'm going to do a whole series on it for that reason. So if it sounded like I probably didn't describe it good, it's probably because I didn't.
Don't worry.
Someone was like, "Is nothing better than something?" Well, the truth is, it's like something is, nothing is the source of something, but also like yin and yang. There's nothing and there's something. It's like, these are just endless philosophical debates. My point is trying to say that you got to ask what's truly essential. And people don't know what's truly essential at a certain
No.
point when they're surrounded by things, and it's like a phone is like a body part. Like you can't,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, they can't live without their phones. They literally
No.
think their phone is a necessity in their life. So this is what I call an appeal to denature, because you're creating an excuse for yourself to use something which you don't actually need, but you think you need, because you create
Yeah.
all these reasons for yourself.
I feel like a big factor in it is desensitization or desensibilization. I don't know how you say it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like lack of feeling, lack of sensation. You become numb. The moment you become numb, you start doing what everyone else is doing because it's easier.
Yes.
Because he was doing it, so I just copy it. Uh, when you lose contact with your own inner guidance, your own intuition, your own feelings, then it's really easy for someone, something, some ideology, some freaking technological toy to sequester your attention, and the moment you start using it, then you enter like a downward spiral of losing more and more sensitivity, becoming more and more numb, until it's like a habit, and you don't.
Yes.
So it's like
Good
people
point.
wake up in the morning. People wake up in the morning, and the first thing they do. Sometimes I do this myself. First thing I do is reach out for the phone.
Right, right, right.
It's sick,
Exactly.
and it's
Yep.
because we've become insensitized, and we just don't feel the natural rejection that we should feel. I mean,
Yeah. And who taught us to do that, right? I mean, it's not like we
yeah,
see that necessarily on TV. We don't see other people doing that. I think it's a sort of like an addiction that happens and it forms, and
yeah,
these systems, these platforms, as you know, they're designed to encourage addiction.
yeah,
Almost everything
yeah.
about them. So
This is the worst one, I think. TikTok.
yeah, that's why I stayed away from it for so many years, by the way. So, you know, I use it to post stuff, but it's about, so again, but that's actually a good example of the appeal to nature. So it's not necessary, but, but do you still use it? So, okay, you know, a cup, not necessary. Do I still use it? Yes. Now, why? Because I'm conscious of it and what it's doing to me. I said knowledge is the requirement. You can use a tool consciously, but at what point do you become the tools to your tools? It's when they become unconscious habits, which is what you just described. So that would be when we are saying this is a need and we feel like we got to give in, and now it consumes our reality or it's part of our reality. And now there's no distinguishment between what is natural and what is unnatural. They become one, or in other words, you become wrapped in an illusion. And that is
Yeah.
exactly what the appeal to denature is. Boom. There
But
we
what's
go.
a
Easily
need?
said.
What's a need versus what's a want?
Oh yeah, that's a good point too, right? Well, because people think they want something when they may not actually need it, or they may think they need something just because, but it's actually just a want, right? So yeah, that's. I mean, you can do that for a lot of things, but the point is like need isn't actually like you need
Yeah,
to live your life, and you find that out by time. It's not something I
yeah,
can say, okay, well, what do we need? You find that out over time. Like, let's say food, water, shelter, like we find out these basic things are needs, but then there's other things like, you know, the social life, there's community, and even I think among religious and atheist debates, they're finding out there needs to be some sort of higher thing to look up to, or needs to be some sort of faith, whether it's an internal or external figure. So we're still figuring that out, actually. We don't really know what we truly need.
yeah. You know what taught me what several things that I didn't need it
Yeah.
is suffering. Losing my health got me to a point where life became really basic. Like I need to move to the bathroom, and I have pain. It pains me to go cook my food.
Yeah.
Then I really changed because I was a med student. I thought of myself like on top of the world.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I'm gonna make millions and I'm gonna have a big house and car and whatever. I never considered I could lose my health, my
Yeah.
reputation, my
Right.
status, my, everything. And what I realized through this process too is how people are enslaved to their way of life. If you have a big house and two cars, you don't want to lose one car.
Yeah.
If you have Netflix and Spotify, you don't want to stop paying for any of those.
Right, right.
If you can buy ice cream every, I don't know, weekend, you don't want to abandon that. And people get into this rat race of maintaining their
Yes.
way of life, and and never wanting to lose face in front of their friends.
Yeah.
Oh my
You're
god.
hitting it really on the point, dude. You really are.
It it's freaking I see it, man. I didn't see it before. I
Yeah.
was subjected to it. I was subjugated by it, you
Yes.
know? But now that I like to live
Well, you're a
simple.
producer now. You're not just a consumer.
Yeah,
See?
yep. I try to feel more. I actually the
Yeah.
last few days I've been really um focusing on harnessing my intuition and
Hmm.
really going with more with the flow of life,
Yeah,
because
me too.
I used to rationalize too much, trying to protect myself from what is going to happen,
Yeah.
always afraid. And now I try to feel more, and I really feel it pains me to see people so trapped in their reputation, in the appearances,
Yep.
and not wanting to seem less in front of their friends. It's a real prison.
Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting, right? The attempts to try to be liked, the attempts to try to be happy are backfiring on people, and they're ending up unhappy, there's even more unhappy because they're not being authentic, because they're not being real. So it's like as if nature is giving them a big wake up call. Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
can do what society tells you to do, and you might feel like, yeah, you're doing everything right. That society tells you to do what's right. And guess what? All the people who gain all that money and all that success, they aren't happy. So I'm pretty darn grateful and I'm pretty darn present for that reason. When you start looking at all the layers of our society and all the things people think they need or the things that
Mm.
they think they want, if you actually gave it to them, would they actually be happy? Would they actually be in the mindset that they think that they would be in if they had it? Because they're underlying that need is something that still hasn't been addressed.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So, like, we're talking about society and like all these people talk about politics or economics. And the reason why things are not better is because they all have the same mentality, which created that very system in the first place. And they're fighting against the system, which they are also perpetrating, which means, again, there is an unconscious habit or pattern that is perpetuated, that is, what Carl Jung calls the collective unconscious. That's what it is. And we're figuring it out. But I think, like, now I use the words on my videos like break the matrix, escape the matrix. I think it's a pretty good way of describing like the system in a sense that people can get.
Mm.
It's like if I say the matrix, people start to understand a bit more, so I use that much more recently. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, you can look into ponerology, the study of evil.
Oh man, yeah, I read
Uh,
the book.
yeah, you have.
It's amazing. I made a couple of videos about it actually,
Mhm.
and it's freaking awesome. I love that book.
There's so many great resources out there as people just would need to find it. But again, that comes out of an internal will or passion or desire. But what you mentioned is like you had an experience that happened to you. I had an experience that happened to me. Something's going to cause people to question things at some point in time, even if it's their death. Even if
Mm.
it's their deathbed, you see people saying things all the time before they die. So it happens one way or another, even if it happens to their family because of their death and because of, let's say, a disease they had. One way or another, karma does come around. It's just not the way people think. Like, oh yeah, if I do something, a lightning bolt is going to strike me. That's like the ironic, playful way of saying it. But truthfully, because the shadow is such a shadow, karma works in such mysterious ways, and you can try to predict the future, you can try to determine what's going to happen, and almost all the time you're wrong or you missed a detail. It's actually a beautiful thing, and it's another reason why presence is so important, because you can try to figure it all out, and it's like learning how to be present is like acceptance. It's not like you're fighting things all the time, and fighting your own mind too, confusion. I think as an overthinker, the majority of my life, because I'm truth seeker, asking questions, I realized the importance of presence only in recent years. and I'm still working on that, frankly. But it's after studying like trauma and the psychology stuff, it becomes more apparent, and Eastern philosophies too. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I think Mark Passio doesn't go enough into that in his work, but his upcoming work, his shadow work seminar, is probably going to go into some variants of that, and it's very needed because there's a lot of people in the Mark Passio community who need that. I've seen and I've experienced, and I don't know if you have, but a lot of people who are either very like worshiping Mark, using his slides, using his terminology, and not having an understanding for themselves, and sort of like a cult-like mentality, or people just getting really mad and really angry and saying, I agree with Mark, but I don't like anything that he does, and blah blah blah. I don't know. I've seen a lot of interesting mindsets that this seminar is going to be very important for anybody who gets emotionally attached either way. Because if there's any sort of emotional attachment, to me it's like big red flag, like what's going on here, right? Because you can't think rationally if you're emotionally attached to something and you're going to like get triggered off of one word or one phrase or some ideology. Like, I'm willing to talk about anything. You can bring up whatever you want to me, and it's like I'm not going to care, right? It's like whatever. But for a lot of people, there's a limit that they're not willing to go to. There's a limit they have, and they're not willing to go beyond that. So I find that out in conversation when I talk to random people on the streets. Like, I can tell, they open up by introducing themselves. They tell me their limits. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Catholic. They're literally telling me their limits. I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me the cult you're in. So now I can navigate with that. And
bro, it's amazing the number of comments I get from religious people saying like Jesus is the only way and whatever.
Yeah, what
Oh
makes them
my
say that?
God.
Like, what's prompting them to go on this crusade, literally like a jihad?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go. Like right now, my comment on TikTok is gonna convince you that Jesus is the only way. Right now, I'm gonna convince you through this one comment. And maybe if I spam it enough, and with enough capital letters, I can get him one day.
It's amazing. I guess they're really not thinking.
Yeah.
That's precisely the problem, man.
Yeah, and no, Eli, it's definitely good to have a point of view, and better than shadow. Well, I mean, I think it's important to, like, when we are saying humility, it's not that you have to have a grip on everything and you have to know everything, and that it's that you do have to have a point of view. You could say, I don't know. You could say, I'm still developing myself. People have a fear of the unknown, and they also fear death. Like you said that you don't like darkness and all that. Well, darkness in some way is part of like our reality. It's the nothingness gives rise to something. Like, think of this very practical way. Your cup would not be useful if it wasn't for the emptiness inside it. This room wouldn't be useful if it wasn't for the emptiness inside it. My voice, if I didn't take pauses between what I said, if the silence between the words, you would not understand what I'm saying. The space between my eyes is a third eye. Everything that is empty and nothing is actually the most of something. It's actually the most useful. And that's a Taoist teaching, by the way, and that's why the yin-yang is all about, light and dark. It's not to be feared, and it's not to be like these are separated. They're interlinked, and they lead one to the other. It doesn't mean that there is no right and wrong. It doesn't mean there's no light and dark or masculine and feminine, and you can just be whatever gender you want. Like, people turn this into all sorts of things for their own projection, right? Like, there is that duality, but then there's the non-duality. Like, this is why we talk about the concepts. So when we talk about nothing, there's also something. When we talk about, like you mentioned, when you mention one question, there's also a billion questions. Actually, by the way, just so you know, that's what this book is about, my latest book. So cool. It's called The Arts and Books of Opposites, okay? So it goes into the opposite of everything you were ever taught ever. Basically, in your life, you're going to run into opposites. With everything. And if you do that enough, you actually will critically think to the highest extent. At least that's what I use as the premises for this book. So I say, like, this is critical thinking to like level 100, because even basically when you think you're right, I'm going to tell you what you're not entirely right. Let's see if I can find like something in here I can quote, because I have also like a bunch of historic quotes in here too.
Go for it.
But Steelman, but it's
Take your
masculine
time.
and feminine. It's the same thing, right? Like you want to understand masculine and feminine, but you also want to understand that they're both needed. Like they're
Yep.
both part of the same being.
Complementary. Absolutely complementary.
Right. But it's a hard thing. It's like, how could something be contradictory to each other and yet also both be necessary? See what I mean? And that's the grapple that I think is hard for some people.
It's like I guess that's like a marker for psychological maturity.
Yes.
Being able to entertain an idea without believing it, and being able to withstand, you know, uh, uncertainty and paradox.
Right, right.
Because life is weird, bro. Life
Exactly.
is
Well,
so
well, that's the
fucking
thing
weird.
too. It's like fun and play with ideas. There's a reason why Socrates like never wrote down his teachings, and why he would just go around challenging everybody's teachings, and why his motto is like I know nothing, and then his dialogue is just asking questions. Because it's like fundamentally in ancient occult philosophical circles, writing down something already corrupts the information. Mark
Wow.
Passio said natural law is traditionally taught through word of mouth. When
Mm.
Lao Tzu wrote the Tao Te Ching, he's like, I'm just writing down what people said before me. And
Mm.
I'm just putting it on paper. But the first chapter of the Tao Te Ching says the Tao that could be named is not the eternal Tao, which means that even though he's describing it, it's not what it is. Because
Yeah.
people mix up the paper or the book with the reality, right? How many Christians believe their Bible was literally a, you know, a holy document, right? So this is touchy for some
Damn.
people. But it's the same thing with laws, right? It's like how many people literally think the law is morality and like it's
Yeah.
divinely inspired, like God wrote it. So people confuse the thing points to. And like
Yeah.
the Bible to
Totally.
me is actually like a guide, but it's not the only guide. And it's
Of
not like
course. Yeah. Oh, wait. I lost sound. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh my god, I lost.
Are we good now? We're good now, right?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I had to unplug the microphone. It died.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but there's actually a good quote here. I have a really good one that's one of my favorites, and it's from a book called Dawn Thought. It's a 1800s book that nobody reads. No one knows
How's
it.
it called?
It's called Dawn Thought on the Reconciliation. It's by
Don't thought.
J.W.M. Lloyd, some guy nobody knows. But
Don't.
those are the best texts. Let's be honest. But anyways, this quote is just like one of my favorites that I have in here, and it talks about like all the different figures that came in history and how they were all taught. They all came to Earth to kind of teach us the role of opposites. And it says like one thing needs restatement explanatory. While opposites are co-equal in an acting universe, their equality breaks down at just one point, its final reality. So soon as the need for action disappears, it is seen that the opposite is a working fiction, a man of straw, introduced for the sake of the argument. Separateness, duality, hate, evil, war, these are unreal, for the real is the one, the good, the peace, the everlasting all. And in that thought there is fixity and rest. The recognition of opposites in their just balance and proportion in reconciliation and unity is the ethic of the dawn thinker. So the dawn thinker in this text is all about like the future, the person who like is enlightened in a sense, right? So for opposites are in everything and equally, but in the bits and fragments of life which we usually view, they are often not equal, but in varying proportions. Isn't this crazy? Like the way this is written, is just incredible. Like you probably, and also you speak Spanish, so I don't know how hard this is for you to comprehend.
I try to follow you.
Okay.
I think I got like half of it.
You see, that's like the language barrier is so interesting, isn't it? Because like it just even English. I'm reading an old English document and I speak English and I can barely like understand it, right? So
Yeah,
I just and this is
it's
not
great.
even 200 years ago. Imagine something from 2000 years ago, like the
Whoa,
Bible. I mean, come on. And coming from
makes you
across the
think.
world.
Yeah, I'm reading the Odyssey by Homer, and it's freaking great in that sense because the way he wrote it, we don't talk like that anymore.
Yeah, could barely understand myself. That's right.
Yep.
Exactly. But it's very interesting. So let me see which part here. It says, yeah. I like how it describes the natural here. It says, the natural is that which grows and which must be considered to be understood in all its fullness of growth. The arbitrary is that which we cut to suit ourselves from the natural, and we must not complain that that which we imperfect have made itself imperfect. Like that is profound. Nothing can be perfect till completed, and to complete anything takes everything. It is in the just recognition of opposites, then, their value and import, their proportionate presence or absence, and in ideally supplying the missing parts by spiritual insight and foresight, that the soul of man finds its noblest, divinest, happiest functions, and foretastes the joys which are not yet. And then
Wow.
what's insane is it says from the Greeks who above all men loved this earth life and the sensuous joy of it came Socrates who above all men affirmed the soul. From the narrow, clannish, grasping, revengeful Jews came Jesus, the communist. Now, communist in this text, in this time and day, is seen as a good thing, not in the
Yeah.
way that you think communism is the way you talk about
Yes.
it. I just
Of
want to make
course.
that
Of
clear.
course.
Like socialism, also in the late 1800s, was totally different from the way that we talk about it and conceive of it today. It's actually
They
like socialism was like the original anarchism and kind of in the
it
original.
it it hadn't killed like millions of people.
I know. Well, that's because you're mixing like state socialism, state communism versus like anarcho-communism or like a voluntary communism where someone gets together and makes a commune or believes that there should be community. Like socialism, communism, it sounds good and it appeals because it's like bringing
Mm,
people together, but they're used as these greater agendas that were never really necessarily intended in the first place. You do the same
mm.
thing with Jesus' teachings. It's like Jesus didn't tell you to go on a crusade and kill your fellow man, but somehow we thought that was a good idea and that Jesus commanded us to do it. Right? So we make whatever we want to be true, true, with our own justifications. We do
Yeah.
this with every ideology. I'm telling you, like even the natural law community, they will find everything to support their premises, even if it may contradict and totally go against it. And someone who I appreciate who questioned the natural law narrative a lot was Disenthrall. Disenthrall has been in this community for many years, more than most other people. And he did a whole thing on how it's not really philosophically perfect, and I appreciated that. Even though I'm someone who promotes that perspective, I was like, I love the fact that you're sharing a different way to look at it. But anyways, it
Disinthraw.
said it basically goes through examples in history. Like it said, from Arabia came Muhammad, from the Russians came Tolstoy, then Kropotkin, from the Yankees came Emerson and Thoreau and Whitman. And it just gives examples of history how there's certain times where there's like these really bad cultures and these really bad people, and then comes this one person or few people who have these ideas, and then it shifts the whole narrative. And so Socrates was one of those people who was killed by a government and then celebrated as like the world's best philosopher. And then Jesus was killed by a government and then
Mm.
was celebrated as, the main religion of the Roman Empire. It's like, come on.
The savior.
So that's what that
Amazing.
text is about, is saying that there's this opposite shadow effect that takes place where someone is where the whole society then turns. It turns on itself.
Yeah, you can rationalize your way into anything. It's
Yes,
if
with enough question, anybody can be challenged. You just have to ask the right questions. So even what we're saying could be challenged to some extent, but that's why I welcome it because likely, if you do, and that's why I said some of the comments on my stuff, I'm like, that's good because there's always something there. There's always something there.
mm,
Because we're trying to reach people, we're trying to help people, and so if they have a concern or something to highlight, then it's evident that maybe it's not them that's at fault, it's actually us. But I'm not saying like what you're saying about communism and socialism is wrong necessarily, but it does make you think more about your own position, doesn't it? Like
yeah,
does it make you more defensive? Does it make you more like, man, this person is wrong? Or does it make you say, how could I do this better? See, like someone could take it
yeah.
either way.
Mm. No, it's great. I'm always looking for like angles and ways to say the same thing. Basically, I mean, it's like we need to respect each other.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to understand, but s- I wouldn't I would not have got this like 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Probably if I had got in touch with natural law or objective morality 20 years ago, maybe I wouldn't even give a damn.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own timing. The Everyone is on their own evolution.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't really worry. Maybe today, if I say something wrong today,
Right.
I'm
Right.
not that worried,
Yeah. Oh,
because
exactly.
I am able to say, hey, I was wrong.
Right. Right.
And you know that it's like a magic phrase that liberates you, makes you grow, makes you humble,
Yep. Yep.
keeps you
Well, Mark.
humble,
See, that's
keeping
why
it
Mark
real.
Passio's seminar is so good because even when you try to avoid using his concepts, you end up running into his concepts again and again. That's what makes it so everlasting. That thing's going to go down in
Bro.
history books because the
Yeah.
way it's formatted is such a way that even me, who's someone who doesn't teach that perspective very definitely as I do, I still run into his concepts over and over again because of how effectively put together it was. I mean,
Yep.
it's a really well put together seminar, even if you can tear apart whatever definitions. I think it's a required thing that I share on my channels. I tell everybody to watch it if they can, but it's up to them, obviously. But I think people should. I think it would help a lot to
Yeah,
have some sort of grounding.
he managed to put together a lot of basic fundamental ideas
Yeah,
that maybe you don't agree, but you should definitely have heard about it.
yeah,
I see it that way. Maybe you watched the whole podcast, and there you didn't like it, but at least you heard about it and
yeah.
you got
Exactly.
some notions, and now we can talk and we can discuss why you don't agree, but you
Right.
need to like get in contact with some basic things,
Yeah.
principles. I think that's basic. Talking about Mark Pasio, did you participate in the Becoming the True Media seminar?
No. I was always wanting to just create content. So that's just who I am.
Ah,
I'm
okay,
self-taught for all the things I do, just because I was passionate about it. That's it.
cool.
And I think that's where it's going to come from for most people. I've had friends that have
Yeah,
taken that class like hundreds of times.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like how many times could you take it until you start doing something? It's going to come from yourself ultimately. You
Yeah,
can take a class a billion times. Mark can guide you step by step like a baby as much as you want, but eventually you have to teach yourself. Um,
yeah. You need courage, man. I
Yeah.
think that that's one of the most important things I think I got from Mark and his work is courage. Like I didn't understand how important courage is because I always thought being smart, being
Hmm.
intelligent, that's the most important thing.
Right, right.
But your intelligence, your intellectuality is absolutely effing worthless if
Yep.
you don't have the balls, if you don't have the courage to
Yep.
act
Right.
act when you're afraid, when it's hard.
Yeah,
Courage
absolutely.
is the one thing that makes the difference. And actually, I I I value much more now courage than brains, to put it in the in
Yeah.
some way,
Yeah, me too.
because yeah, that's what you know m- uh, m- gets the things moving in your life, in the world. If you want to do something, you can think about it all you want, but without that fire in your belly, what are you gonna do? You're gonna stay there where it's comfy, where it's
Yeah.
safe, where no one can tell you, hey, you're wrong, or
Yep. Well,
you're
that's why
ugly,
Mark is
or
effective.
whatever the fuck.
That's why Mark Passio is effective because he's got passion. And so when
Yeah,
someone's taking a course, and he does a good job with his course, I know how he does it. It's really well done.
I haven't done it.
He can only do it so well though. Like, someone has to still have passion and care.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
man.
it's not going to persist. So for me,
Care.
like, I'm always going to be a content creator and I know it because it's part of who I am. Yeah, I literally can't get rid of it. I've gone like 6 months without it one time and I was desperate to go back. And it's not like an addiction as much as so is it's like it's who I am because it's not that I'm looking for attention, it's that I like to create. And I told you I've been an inventor since a young age. So like I like to experiment with ideas, and for me, I like to see the dialogue. And so you're right, by the way, also like you can worry about what you're putting out and then never put out anything.
Mm,
Yeah, like I know some people who are like really geniuses, like amazing intellectuals, and they're afraid of posting content because they judge
damn.
themselves so darn much. And they're like, I just know that this is not going to be perfect and this blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you just got to do it. Like, you
Yeah,
just got to start somewhere because these people, I'm
yeah,
telling you, there's genius out there and they just haven't found either the courage, like you said, or the willingness or the support. I mean, there's people who are like, I try to do it and I can't put it together and whatever. So that's going to come from maybe some shadow work or maybe something else. I think they got to figure it out. But um,
yeah. I mean, for me, I must admit it kind of was a little bit easy because I was in so much physical pain. I've been in so much physical pain that in my mind, I've been like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I
yeah,
wanna bring this monster down,
yeah,
or
I
at least
understand.
I wanna make a dent in
Right,
this hellish fucking thing we got living on Earth, and
right, right.
I'm not gonna die without like trying, at least trying. So
Mm.
even in the most dark of times, even in the most undesirable circumstances,
Yep.
you can find some gold there. In the ugliest pit of suffering,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can get you can get value. So
For sure.
I mean that I don't want to excuse people. I mean, there's no excuses. You have
Sure.
to do act, but I understand that for most people it is really freaking hard.
Yeah. Yep. Um, and I've been fortunate to know, like Eli, you mentioned in the chat, hope some souls shouldn't. I think maybe I'm fortunate that I haven't had to go through a whole lot that other people do, but I feel it because I'm an empathetic person. That when I talk to other people and when I deal with this work, I'm bringing upon, to some sense, shadows to me, or shadowy figures to me, like people who faced all sorts of problems because I'm confronting this information. So although I didn't face it myself, in a way, I get to still experience or see a lot of that. And it's not easy. So I don't think
Mm,
it's easy for any of us because just by
yeah,
the nature of this information, we're going to face backlash, you're going to face resistance, you're going to face a whole world of people who don't know what you're talking about or whatever. It's like almost by the nature of it, you're going to face that backlash, right? And again, it's not to play the victim. It's really just to say like they don't have that information. They don't have it. So of course they're going to be resistant. Of course they're going to attack, right? And again,
yeah,
people are emotionally attached to what they think they know. So that's their first instinct is I got to go on some rant on social media,
yeah,
convince them they're wrong, convince them Jesus is the only way, convince them blah
yeah,
blah blah,
yeah,
whatever they currently believe. And
yeah,
they might find themselves 10 years later disagreeing with themselves and they can't delete those comments they made and they don't probably know the impact they made. And so, and then we're wondering, like, what impact are we making? Well, we don't see 10 years from now who we're talking to right now on our podcast who might, not even be commenting, who could see this and could change as a result. You have no clue. Like, again, it's like a seed planted. You said you saw the seminar once and then you went back. Same thing for me. I didn't think it was a big deal at first. I came upon it in my research and I was like, what is this? And then soon it was like implanted in my subconscious like wait, I need to look back at that. What was that? And so I've had that multiple times in my life. There's a reason why advertising works, right? There's a reason why there's commercials on TV, because although you think you're not being influenced, you are.
yeah.
So what you're doing is important, and I think we can probably leave on that note. It's been 3 hours.
Yeah, bro, it's been amazing, man. It's been a very nurturing conversation. I'm very grateful to have met with you. Um, I hope we can do this again in the future.
Hmm.
If you want to, you can just reach out and we can talk about
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, probably it would be cool to do it after my documentary is released and we can talk about that.
Oh, of course,
That'd
of
be pretty
course.
cool.
Just reach out and well, I'd love to see your documentary.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you can watch it first, even better, because then you can be like, oh, I want to ask about this or I want to talk about that.
Yeah, man, that would
Um,
be great.
but thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go hydrate some more and maybe work on some other things, but it's getting late where I am. What is it? Oh, yeah, you're like 1 hour ahead of me or behind?
Yeah, it's pretty late over here, but I
Okay.
don't give a damn. I have no schedule, nothing scheduled for tomorrow morning, so no
Yeah,
problem,
same
bro.
here, luckily, at least today, but I'm usually can be, I'm all over the place with all the things I do. But dude, keep in touch. And I don't know my future yet exactly. I'm building it. I'm building the center. I'm trying to work things out. Stay tuned on my YouTube for updates mainly. I
Yeah,
haven't posted a video there in a
I
while,
haven't
but
seen your YouTube. I follow you on Instagram, and now
that's
we've
cool.
contacted here, but
I'm glad you
I've
found me
never
on
seen your
TikTok.
YouTube.
I'll tell you. Like
What?
I'm glad you found me like on my content. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how I got you. Probably something related to health, maybe
Yeah, I
some
also have
video
some people
related to
send me
health.
things, so maybe I found you too somehow. Like there's all sorts of things, but I try to keep my inbox open. I try to look over all comments and everything. So that's the most. I try not to. I'm not like one of those doom scrollers, but I try to stay plugged in, at least somewhat. So
Cool,
thank you,
bro.
man. I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome, bro. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Eli, for hanging out in the chat with
yeah,
us.
thank Eli for all the comments, all the and last thing.
Yeah,
There's like
here.
8 people here. There's like 8 people now, and I think they're all your followers because my followers, I don't think most of them speak English. So I think you
I
were
don't think I'm
uh,
live, dude. I'll have to figure it out some other time. I would have seen it on
I don't
my.
know. What you can do is go check in your in your profile in TikTok, well,
Mhm.
go to live. There's an option that in settings, then you go
Okay.
to live, and then it maybe it's gonna say, oh, live recording. If not, well, I've got it. I probably got it recorded on my TikTok.
Oh, okay.
But maybe I could upload this to YouTube.
Yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be
know.
cool. I'll
Yeah,
promote it over there too. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
cool, bro. Hey, man, keep up the good work, man. Much love here from Chile. And
Yep.
let's stay in touch. If you ever want to come to South America, you can come visit, stay at my house, no problem.
Oh,
And
dude, that's cool.
uh, bro, much love, bro. Keep up the good work, man.
No, thank you. You too, man. I wish I spoke Spanish. I could watch your videos.
Bro,
But
no
you know,
problem. If we have this maybe more frequent conversations, I can teach you a word or two.
ooh, yeah, let's do that. I actually know some Chinese, so I can do that.
Oh man, that's cool,
I've been
man.
learning that every so now and then, because I go to a Chinese church. I've been learning that. So
Wow,
yeah,
that might become very important in the years to come.
that's right.
Knowing Chinese, bro. Yeah, like
Zaitian
word
is
power.
bye in Chinese. Zaitian.
再见. Nice. In Spanish, you say ciao.
That's Italian.
In Italian, it's ciao.
Oh my gosh.
Ciao. In español, in Spanish, it's ciao.
Ah,
You see?
That's a Chinese last name. The
Yeah,
pastor of the
yeah.
church, Johnny Chow.
Or or you can say, or even more beautifully, you can say adios, which
Adios.
literally means to God.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
There you
pretty
go.
cool, man.
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah.
much love, man.
Peace
Have
out.
a good night, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, everybody. Peace out.
Bye bye. Good night.